Welcome to the Fullcaster Podcast, episode 22. Our guest today is one of the longtime top drivers in the Masters group, and now actually more on the other side of the fence, if you will, Andy Seesemann. He's also got his own shop that's been around for eons, FTK, Full Throttle Karting. We're going to talk about that and more. We're actually on location here at Full Throttle Karting, so if it sounds a little bit different in the background, just like our previous episode to kick off the season, we are on location once again. Looking forward to getting with Andy and talk about more about how he got into the game. Never mind the old FTK stuff as well. But first, current events, Dirk. We've got we're recording this on the 30th here of November, so just after the Thanksgiving weekend. Busy as hell at Cal Speed. Actually, a lot of people coming out and practicing, not just for the off-season stuff, but also Machismo, which is this weekend. So we're kind of sliding this thing in between a couple of busy weekends. But we still have one more event to go for the racing season. That is the LAKC finale coming up on December 20th.
Right.
When this thing actually comes out, it's going to be, I want to say it's January 19th. I believe it's going to be the Tuesday of the challenge opener.
Here at Cal Speed, yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be a situation where I think we're going to see here at the next LAKC several drivers, including myself, hopefully, going out there and doing some testing for that deal. Hopefully, I'll be out there in both the GP and the 100cc and on the new tire with the challenge and obviously all of the rock events, switching from the Bridgestone to the Levanto tire with an O. I've been corrected many times. It's not LeConte, it's Levanto, made by LeConte, as Andy's going to probably point out multiple times throughout the interview. But I'm looking forward to getting out there, and I really get excited anytime there's something new. For me, it's the GP engine. I haven't gotten a chance to drive that ever. And then the tire's going to be new. So getting the old notebook out and playing with stuff, and, I've got plenty of notes on how to drive the 100cc and, the blue tire, the Evinco. But yeah, I haven't driven the new tire. And haven't driven the GP, so I'm excited to try all those things out.
Yeah, fresh package you're going to have to learn, and just like everyone else, going to be a new tire they're going to have to learn, so it'll be pretty cool seeing how everything develops leading up to first round of COTA. Yeah,
and you're even thinking about maybe trying to get out there, LAKC, maybe on that same package, but in 100cc possibly.
Yeah, I was talking to Tony Saragoose about it. I know that he has a test day set up coming soon with his Campion GFC, trying to get a head start on the Levanto setup and whatnot, and then I'm already well and done out of the points for LAKC, so I'm just thinking if I could use that as a testing bed and get ready for challenge.
Yeah, with the way the year went.
Right.
Never mind the COVID stuff. Obviously, some bad luck for you, et cetera, so it was a little bit challenging. But, why not get ready? And it's not every year that you have a race in December that you can go play. I mean, obviously the Chill Challenge, but a race at Cal Speed that you can go and play on. So, yeah, it could be a good opportunity. And actually chat with some people, and hopefully we'll get some people for the LAKC race to go testing.
I think it'll be good. I think a lot of people are going to take that chance to practice for challenge. So I think we can get decent numbers out there for the club.
Yeah. And fast forwarding to, like I said, when this thing comes out, it's going to be the week of challenge. And obviously the last challenge that happened was at Cal Speed, and it was record numbers. We're going to talk to Andy about that, obviously, and more. But knowing that, going into the new year, and obviously fresh off Rock the Rio and that kinds of stuff here, we got a little bit of momentum going to the new season, and I'm hoping to see some big numbers.
I think so. I mean, the Rock has been a steady climb these last 3 years, and, man, the Masters has always been pretty good. I think a lot more Masters are going to pop up for Challenge, and, Senior's always been stout, so I'm excited to see how that year kicks off.
Yeah, and I'm hoping we still see big numbers in both classes, 100cc and GP.
And GP, for sure.
Selfish, obviously, for that. But GP's been pretty solid. 100cc, we had a good numbers at the last race, our first challenge, and that'll be our second go-round. But anyway, enough about us and current events. How about we go ahead and get things rolling here? And without further ado, let's bring on the man himself, Andy Seesemann. Andy Seesemann, thanks for allowing us to come out here and hang out at your place here. This is pretty sweet.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Derek. Appreciate you guys coming out.
Yeah, and this is, we talked about in the current events, we were at the deal at Stu's, Motorsport Development Group, right?
Correct.
Yeah, MDG. Yeah. I didn't add the S this time. And that was the first time I've been in brick and mortar since moving down from Washington, and now going. You guys are not very far apart. But
no, we're less than a mile, and what's funny is Two Wild Ryan's less than a mile from me, almost due south. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess most of the people that live around here are going to be right here, so they'd be.
The best part is it's just centrally located. I mean, there's so many freeways, right? There's the 5, the 55, the 50, the 57, and the 22 are all right here, and the 405's not too far.
It's easy to get to.
So we're as central as central can be. So
Yeah, you're
Nice.
speaking all kinds of crazy languages right there. I'm not from here, so all those different things kind of flying over my head. But Dirk's going, yeah, I know
Mike
exactly
knows
what you're
4th Street and the 10 freeway.
yeah.
That's as far as he gets.
okay, we're between Corna Curva.
talking. Exactly. And again, I'm not sure if anybody else can hear, but I hear a little bit of that echo we got going on. We're obviously here at your place in the middle of the
showroom.
showroom, as you call it. And I'm looking at Burrell's in the back. You got an Esprit up there. I see you got Kid Kart over there as well. Just real quick, what you do obviously is FTK. There's more than that. There's more than full throttle karting. How long have you been doing this? How long have you been here? Just give you a little bit of a heads up on the history here of the shop.
Okay, all right. Well, so after I had run another shop or helped run another shop for a couple years, and which you didn't know, did you?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, see, so do I need to go back even further?
Oh yeah, origin story, baby.
We would much appreciate it.
So yeah, let me hit pause real quick then. Why are you running a kart shop?
So, do we need to go back all the way to 1982? I mean, you asked me these questions. I mean, it starts at the beginning, right?
Right.
So, I mean, I, like a lot of people, karting was my hobby as a kid. I think I told you, I'm gonna ruin all your questions right now. I'm just gonna destroy your little syllabus you got going on, right?
All my episode prep out the window.
Exactly right. So I was probably about seven or 8 years old. I told you, and my stepdad used to take us to the kart track during the summer in Illinois, and he would take us there and ask me if I wanted to do it, and I wasn't interested as a little kid, as you see a lot of times kids aren't, right? I was happier eating a great popsicle up in the stands watching than participating. And that track was River Valley Kart Club in Gilbert's, which your boss Rob Niles used to race at.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
And he did that for a couple years, and it was probably fast forward till the very end of '82 or the very beginning of '83. We were living down in Texas at the time, in Houston. And we went to a little track called Katy, Texas, where my friend Dave Pergandy still races today. And he took me to the track. Probably said, "This is probably gonna be the last time I asked you this. Do you wanna start racing?" I said, "Yeah, that's cool, right?" So did it for a couple years. I think I told you we raced, at the asphalt track, and then the dirt track opened about an hour away. I got into dirt racing too, and probably for about a year, we raced the dirt track every Saturday night and raced at the asphalt track every other weekend. So I was racing 6 times a month.
That's
Were you
awesome.
in the junior class?
Yeah, I started out as I was just 12, so I started out as a rookie junior, which back then there was no cadet karts.
Right. Yeah.
You raced a Yamaha with a full pipe, no can muffler, but they did have a intake restrictor, so it was just a full size kart at 12 years old, whether you're 8 years old or not, and then they pulled a restrictor, and I was in junior 2 at that point. After a couple months of doing the rookie thing. But yeah, I mean, those were...
Real quick, you were talking about getting in here as you said 7 years old?
Well, no, 7 when he first took me to the track, but this is fast forward. I was 12 at the time.
How did you... Or was the family into racing? Were you guys watching on TV? Or like...
My stepdad was a racer. He had raced, dirt oval stock cars, before I was born. Did the drag racing thing. His eldest son... built, just some pro stock, his Nova, mid 60s Nova, Chevy Nova Camaro stuff,
Right.
Drag
bracket racing, drag racing stuff. So racing was always part of growing up. I think I'd also told you, some of my great memories are falling asleep at the dirt track, head on my mom's lap, as an 8-year-old kid, watching midgets, full-size people with midget cars, race. So, I mean, yeah, racing was part of what we did. And then, fast forward till 82 or 83, like I said, right around
when you're a little bit older.
A little bit older.
So you'd kind of, and when you first saw a kart track, you were stoked, right? You definitely wanted to do it right out of the gate.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, yeah. I mean, at 7, no, I had no interest, right?
Why do you think it took from 7 to.
I was going to ask, did you say yeah just to shut them up or?
No, I was actually really interested. Kids mature, like things at different rates. I mean, I've been doing this long enough that I've seen so many kids who the parents push them into it too young, and you could see the kids are miserable, and you see the kids that at 5 they're ready to go do it right now, right? They're just different.
Yeah.
I go back to my own son who did it for 6 months and then never did it again, right? It just wasn't. He enjoyed it. He didn't love it enough to work hard at it, so it just wasn't his deal, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it eventually just clicked, right?
Yeah,
He said,
something between 7 and 12 years old, you're game on.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it's game on, right? Whether it's whatever it was, it just clicked, right? So
how was that first race? What'd you do? How'd the first race go?
The first race. Well, the first race was actually funny, right? I wish I could go back and never let that first race end. It was in the rain.
Oh, cool.
This is in Texas.
Yeah, there were 4 of us because there was an IKF regional race, so all the fast kids were gone, right? So
Perfect time to strike.
Yeah, positions 15 through 18 were there, and it rained, and it was my very first race, and I was so slow, but I did not spin out. I was the proverbial turtle.
Nice.
And the other kids would go zinging past me and then spin out, and I'd pass them. And they go zinging past me and spin out, and I'd pass them. And in the end, I ended up winning. I won my very first race.
That's awesome.
Right? If I only knew it was going to be downhill from there, right? But
your stepdad's like, oh man, this kid's gonna be
it.
Guy's
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had my Fonzie jean jacket on and a bubble face helmet, and
Oh, that's cool. The bubble face. I love that.
Dude, it was bad, right? But
I love that though. When I was a kid, I hated it, but I had the jeans and a leather jacket we got from Goodwill, and it was brown, and I was totally embarrassed because all the other kids had suits and stuff like that, and I hated it. My parents tried to make me feel better, and they actually ended up. You can get like leather paint, spray paint, so they painted it black to make me feel better because it wasn't this ugly brown. The problem is that as the season went on, that paint cracked. It started being like this shitty
just
camo,
peeling off a little bit,
like black and brown. Just anyways, so yeah, that was that freaking jacket coming apart throughout the season. My embarrassed. The only thing was we were actually halfway decent. So like
the paint probably cost more than the jacket did. I was on it.
Well, it was Goodwill, right? So it couldn't have been very much,
right?
But
at least they didn't bedazzle you,
I don't think they had bedazzle you. You'd have to get your Elmer's glue and the
and the glitter.
Just throwing handfuls at you.
Going back to you winning that first race in the rain, also the kinds of stuff. Did you run was that at the very beginning of the season, end of the season? How did that end up working out for you?
Yeah, it was like March or April. It was like one of the first races.
And you ran the rest of the year?
I ran I ran halfway through the year as a rookie, and then we pulled the restrictor because I was 12, but I'm not a small human, so I wasn't making rookie weight anymore, right? But to put things in perspective, back then, even the junior 2 weight with the Yamaha was 265.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Rookie was 235, which is not, much different than today, except it was in a full-size go-kart.
What kind of go-kart were you running back then?
I had a Yamaha go-kart.
The actual Yamaha
The
karts.
first one.
Oh, cool.
So Yamaha, for a few years, contracted with Burrell, oddly enough, to build a package that they could sell in Yamaha motorcycle shops. It was a Yamaha KT100 on a Yamaha branded frame, right? Now, we didn't buy it there. We bought it from Skip's Hobby Shop for $750. I think my mom still has the receipt. So it was used. It was a few years old. Old school inboard Yamaha. I'm not sure you guys are old enough to know what that is. So, how the current engines, the clutches, outboard. It was inboard like an L206. That was the original Yamaha was like that. So, but yeah, that was the first kart, a Yamaha on a Yamaha kart.
How'd you do the rest of the season? Did you get back to that winning ways there by the end of the season?
I did by the end.
Nice.
Once I'd moved up to junior 2.
Okay.
It was more in my weight class with kids, that were a little older. I think I won a few races, and then we went to the dirt, and we started racing the dirt like halfway through '83.
What made you start doing the dirt thing? Just another
My stepdad liked the dirt. He was always a dirt oval, stock car guy, right? So,
gotcha.
The dirt was always he was always looking for that. It's just part of being a Midwest and then Texas racer, right?
Yeah. Did you dig it, the dirt thing?
I love the dirt. The dirt was amazing, and back then the dirt was different than it is now. Now these guys have special offset chassis and weight jacker
Right,
knobs
yeah.
and the
Whoa,
full wedge
hold on, no,
body.
I didn't know they have the weight. I haven't paid that much attention. I knew there's all offset, but they have weight jackers. And
Some
shit?
guys do. I remember for a time. I don't know if they still do, but there was a time when you could reach down and jack the weight like on the
Get
left
out.
front spindle.
I saw a
and-
picture of one the other day. Actually, you can turn it and
Yeah.
adjust
Man,
that inside.
They had the dirt stuff in Canby. They do them in horse arenas in the winter. And I remember it was one of the first races I ever saw in CMC, Don Humbo's joint in Tigard. White cart, big, the white triangle freaking deals come off. This is the mid 90s or early 90s, excuse me, and flinging dirt and whatnot, but in hauling ass in a freaking horse arena.
Yeah.
What was the engine? Yamaha still in
It was
it?
Yamaha.
Same cart?
They had it was we actually got a different cart then. So we found another used Burrell. That was probably late 70s, maybe right around 80 Burrell.
Burrell?
Yeah.
Wow.
And the Yamaha cart was a Burrell too. That's who contracted to build it. And I raced that on the dirt with the Yamaha as well. They basically had two classes. They had a Yamaha stock, which was, it was still blueprinted, but it was stock. And then they had a Yamaha open class. So full, anything goes.
How do they get in a Yamaha to get off the corner in a dirt? What's going on with that? How do they do it? Like big ass gear on
Big
that
gear,
thing?
yeah, clutch, back then, now they use torque converters and, jack shafts and all kinds of stuff. It was just primitive back then, right? The track had just opened, so the guys really didn't, none of us really knew what we were doing, I would say.
Right.
They weren't super experienced at the dirt thing. But we ran under the lights on Saturday night with three-quarter midgets. So there was a TQ show and a couple kart classes with spectators that paid to be there. I mean, it was, as a kid, you're like, wow, this is what karting is. This is cool. Once again, if I'd known it was only going to be all downhill from there.
Just a smaller Saturday night speedway kind of deal with
cool.
the cars.
You're talking in a kart. You were talking about a 12-second lap. It was great. It was so much fun. So much fun. And the great weekends were, like I said, 2 weekends out of the month, we would be at the dirt track till 11 o'clock at night. I'd sleep in the cart on the way home in the truck. We'd get there the next morning, unload the dirt cart out of the back of the truck, put the asphalt cart in the truck, and go to the track, right? So there were times I'd get, leave the track at 11, get home at midnight, be back up at 6 or 7, be back at the track at 8. Now I'm racing, on the asphalt.
Was your stepdad racing at the same time too, or did he kind of slow down as you started picking up?
He never did. He never raced karts. Never raced karts.
How about the car stuff? Is he still doing the car stuff at the same time?
No, I never knew him as a racer.
Okay.
As an active participant.
Gotcha.
So when you were at the track watching, it was purely watching?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, when I was 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
It was just going to watch. I think him wanting to get me into it, right?
So you're racing 12, 13, your early teenage years here, doing two different disciplines. How long does that go for?
We did that in Texas till mid '84, so that was probably about a year and a half, and then towards the late summer '84, we moved back to Chicago, and I raced the spring of '85 back at the original go-kart track, that River Valley Kart Club in Gilbert's.
Wow.
But this time had a 4-stroke, just a flathead Briggs on it, because that was their popular class. And then in '85, summer of '85, I left that home and went to come out here to live with my dad.
Oh, okay.
So that's when karting ended for me for like 10 years.
Oh, no shit.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you're running. So your stepdad gets you in the karting game. You run some karts and do some stuff. Was there at that time? Was it was part of the family thing, or did you have a goal in mind as a munchkin?
It was just a fun thing. He wasn't into ball sports. I mean, my whole ball sport career was like one summer of half-assed little league baseball, right? So there was never any basketball, soccer, it was none of that, right? So that's what we kind of did. And I give that, at the end I didn't really get along with my stepdad, but that's the great thing that he did for me, and his own son. So
What you're talking about leaving the Midwest there and your karting kind of stops. How old are you roughly at that time?
I was 15.
15.
Or a month shy of 15, but yeah.
And it sounds like it's your choice to move.
Yeah. I came to move out here with my dad. Moved right out here in the same neighborhood I live in now.
Oh, wow.
And my dad is exactly the opposite. You could give him a nut and a bolt and both wrenches, and he still would look at you like you're crazy. Like he has zero interest. He's just not him. So I knew pretty much the karting was over for me at that point. Now I would still go when I got my driver's license at 16. I would still go to Adams and catch a race every now and then, or I'd go to a kart shop just to pick up a magazine, or just to go see. Like kids come into my shop now, right? They just come in and kick tires.
Right.
Wouldn't
it be cool?
Wouldn't it be cool if I could do this? Right?
But you knew what it was like.
I did. I just didn't have the finances or anything to do it. Right. So.
Right.
What were you doing in that time to keep yourself busy? Did you pick up sports or anything? Or?
Yeah, I played football in high school.
Okay.
How could you not?
I was all. It was, yeah.
I'm just assuming you're the same kind of bulwark that you are now.
Yeah, I was probably about 70 pounds lighter, but I was still fairly thick human.
Getting it done in the football field.
Yeah.
But you're not doing any racing. I used to say you said almost 10 years. So you get done with the high school game. You do college?
Yeah, I went to college. I went to Cal Poly. I went to Cal Poly Pomona for a year and a half, and then transferred up to San Luis Obispo. Was up there for 4 years. So
And what was the major there? What were you going for?
I went in as an aerospace engineering student.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Well, like all kids, right? I went and I saw Top Gun as a 16-year-old kid.
Oh man, ruined it.
And knew that, but I thought this is the greatest thing ever. But realized that my eyesight was so bad, I'd never be a pilot.
Yeah, the same thing happened to my cousin.
So I better learn how to design airplanes. This is
Yeah.
the coolest thing ever.
Oh man.
And then like 3 years into the curriculum, I went, this is stupid. I hate this. And
so much science
so
and
much
math.
science and math. But I did have so much science and math, so I basically changed my major and just looked down the course catalog list and went, all right, I have this much physics, this much calculus, this much. All right, there's a degree called physical science, which is basically a degree to make high school science teachers.
Nice.
And I just said, in 2 more years I can just be out of here if I just check.
Got it. Yeah, you basically said, how does this apply to what's already out?
I've already
Yeah.
have this much of the curriculum done, right?
So you're telling me
68% through the flow chart. Just get me out.
you're not
right?
into school at all.
No, I had a good time in school.
Extracurricular activities.
I paid a lot of my way through school. Had some help from home, but paid a lot of my way. So always had a job. Was in a fraternity. Was president of the fraternity.
Oh, cool.
Had, as you know me now, my personality is no different today than it was then.
Man of the people.
Something like that. Man of the red cup, man of the people. So and met my wife up there, and then got out of school and went to work.
You said you were working while you were doing the college thing as well,
just
right?
part-time.
Part-time stuff. So you get done, you get this. Obviously, you're a science teacher then, right?
No.
Physical education.
This is the story. The story just twists and turns, my man. So, no, I just got out of school and just started looking for a job. And Dad does what dads do. He's like, "Well, you better have a job next week, or you're gonna be painting the house." I'm like, what? Well, you're not gonna sit around all summer, so you got like a week. Meanwhile, I got friends that are going on 6-month sabbaticals and whatever. I'm going backpacking across Europe. Yeah, no, you're painting the damn house, son. So I literally took a job with Enterprise Rent a Car, which is like hires thousands. I don't know if you know that much, but they hire thousands of college kids every year, right? It's renting cars.
All right.
The cool thing is it's a business training thing. It teaches you how to run a business, right? Mm-hmm. So I did that for a while, then worked in their car sales department. So I sold used rental cars, which, it's perfect for owning a go-kart shop. and then I went into auto finance. So I learned how to run a business. I learned how banks work. So I got a weird kind of, trial by fire in business. That was 3 years. And then
real quick, so you did that out of necessity, but you did have this degree. Did you not try to use said degree for... obviously, you were just trying to get the hell out of Dodge anyway, but...
Yeah, you had to have a degree to work for Enterprise. Everybody had to have a degree.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, at this point in time, as you well know, unless you're super focused on a career, right, the degree is a ticket to get into the workforce.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I know plenty of people with degrees that aren't anywhere near smart with people without them, and vice versa, right? It's how
Sure.
hard you work, but it's a ticket in. But at that point is where I got back into karting. So I had been married a month. So now we're talking spring of '96. Coming up on 25 years here pretty quick. And had been married a month and took my wife up to Oxnard and said, hey, look at this cool track here, the old Jim Hall, the original Jim Hall track in Oxnard. Mm-hmm. She's like, this is stupid. What is this little car thing, right? And
What made you want to do this?
It was just
We're in the area.
what actually made me want to do it
Nice.
is we went on our honeymoon, And my brother, my younger half brother, was graduating high school. So then we flew to Chicago, where they were still living, and I went to his high school graduation, and I was nosing around in the basement, and my old go-kart was in the basement.
Get out of here.
that's awesome.
Actually, it was my brother's old go-kart, his old Bug.
It might as
He had
well
a
be
Bug.
yours, though.
And I went,
Oh.
I think we could pull that up and take it out on the street. And we bought some 2-stroke oil, just went some premium pump gas, threw it in there.
And you're what, 24?
Almost 26, 25 and a half. And
you go there for not karting, it's just this other thing, and it just kind of comes
Falls
flying
back.
back
yeah,
at you.
literally falls back. We just yank it out of the basement, take the cobwebs off it, right? Go through the carburetor, right? This is an old Walbro carburetor, so just clean the gum out of the carburetor, put some fuel in it, charge the battery. He still had the starter, so we just charged the battery, and put the starter in, and it fired up.
Get out.
Me and my brother spent all day, him at 18
awesome.
and me at 25 or whatever, zinging up and down the street.
And your wife's just
My wife's
standing
just
there
going,
like,
you guys are idiots.
Jesus.
What are you doing?
Yeah. She's like, luckily when we go home, this won't be a thing anymore.
Yeah.
Exactly. one month, went to Oxnard and went, see, this is what this is.
Oh.
She's like,
Congratulations.
great, that's amazing. And then a month after that, I walked into pits, spent $5,000, bought a bunch of stuff, and came home and said, look what I bought us.
Us.
I love how you worded that. I got to take that down. I got to remember that
Right,
next time.
Put it in my notes.
Yeah.
I bought us a motor, Heather.
I can't throw that past Becky. Becky's been supporting
She's been
me
around too long. That's
in
why.
the karting game.
Right.
Where was Pitts? And I know it was like a staple.
Yeah, Pitts at that time was one of the biggest kart shops in the country. A West Coast for sure, maybe the country. Half-inch thick catalog.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Because there was no internet back then, so everything's mail order, right? So Comet had a thick catalog. Russell in Missouri.
Seen the Russell one, yep.
All right, had a TS Racing, right? There were like 4 or 5 really big online mail order shops, and they printed like a Sears catalog. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And here in SoCal, it was Pitts.
It was Pitts. It was a staple. It was the place, right? And
How many car shops back then? When Pitts is strong and rolling.
in the Valley, there was Pitts and TNR. Manning probably just had moved. Manning was in the Valley for a while, then was in Valencia, and then like in '98 went up to Willow. So we're talking '96. So I'm not sure. He may have been in Valencia at this time.
But at least a handful or so.
Yeah, there was a handful. Now there's 0, right?
Right.
But then on the flip side, there weren't many in Orange County, and now there's 3 within a mile, right? It's just weird. But walked in, bought a used top car with a used Yamaha on it. The stand, the starter, the
And again, you said this was mid-'90s.
gearbox suit. This is 1996. This is June or July of '96.
And karting is hopping right now, too.
Karting was going. It was the popular class was really Yamaha Superbox. So the little soup can on the back of the engine, right? 4 holes.
God, I hate that sound.
Right, thing made 14 horsepower, but it was that's the class to be.
Went
right?
nowhere until it went somewhere.
Yeah, right. And but man, we go out to Oxnard, once or twice a month. I don't know what they raced, but it was right there on the beach. The track's no longer there. Like I said, it was the original Jim Hall school track. It was if you drove it off in turn 1, you were on the beach. You were in the sand.
Oh, wow.
Right. You talk to any old guys that Manning and all these guys. That's where they all were, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think it had been built by somebody else, but Jim Hall took it over because he made it make money from Monday through Friday, right?
Right.
And then dug out a couple Sundays a month for
Go racing.
Right. Weird, how that works, right?
Exactly.
Gotta make the property try to cash flow Monday through Friday.
Weird.
Odd, right? So yeah, that was those were fun times. That was getting back into it. Oddly enough, you forget how hard it is. You think as a kid. I thought back like, okay, well, I did this as a kid. I'm going to be pretty good.
Yeah, because you did all right.
I did, right?
Yeah, in the dirt and the asphalt.
Yeah, I was a front runner.
Shop
I
ran,
did good, But man, 10 years won. A lot of things had changed in the sport.
I was just going to say, we were talking to
sure.
Billy Cleveland about how much, because he had taken some sabbaticals, if you will, and the amount of change that happens.
Yeah.
Trying to catch up to it all.
Yeah, and the
And I
old
changed.
you and the new
Oh,
you.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not the same anymore either, too, right? It's vastly different. I got in that cart, and I got lapped for 6 months. Lapped. And
And this is at Oxnard specifically, or did you move around?
I pretty much raced that only the first 6 months at Oxnard. That was kind of our place. We lived in the valley, in the San Fernando Valley, way up in Woodland Hills. And so that track was 45 minutes away.
Perfect.
Less than an hour away. There was also LAKC raced at Saugus back then at the Saugus Speedway.
Right.
But Oxnard was the place. And because I worked a lot of Saturdays, and LAKC was a Saturday club, which is different now, right? But LAKC, I don't know if you ever heard those stories. With Saugus, it was a car oval, and LAKC could race there on Saturday mornings, but they had to be gone by 1:30 because the cars would come moving at 2 to run their night show.
Yeah, I'd heard something about that, and it was actually not dissimilar from the Irwindale gig.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Very similar. That's why the Irwindale thing was almost seamless for them, right?
Right. We know how to do this. We'll just plug her in.
Right. So I worked a lot of Saturdays, being in the car rental and car sales business.
Right. Sure.
I was a Saturday guy, right? So Gold Coast, which was the name of the club that raced at Oxnard, they were a Sunday club. So whole first 6 months lapped.
And we're doing you said Yamaha or Superbox.
Superbox.
Yeah.
On a track that the short track is like 26 seconds long, the long track is like 34 seconds long, and I'm getting lapped.
Well, you should be getting lapped. That's a quick lap. I mean, I'm not sure how long what was it? The Cleveland talked about it was in the 80s for sure, maybe 90s. They were like 3 10-lap heats.
Yeah.
That they did. Is it same idea?
Yeah.
So you're getting okay.
Well, we had just switched, so that's how it was when I raced in Texas. They did a 3 10-lap heats motocross scoring system, and you take all your aggregate finishes, and so you got like 400 for first, 300 for second, 225 for third, blah blah blah, and you took all your points, and then so you could have finished second all day and actually won the day.
Oh,
wow!
Because if a guy has, if a guy has 2 wins and a DNF, he has 800 points.
So the way
you get third 3 times, you have 900 points.
So the way it works basically for how you, like, say you rock the Rio, Supernats, whatever, that's how they get your starting position for the main.
Right.
But that was the finish.
There was no main.
There was no
that.
main.
Right.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. Got it.
By this point, karting had kind of gone to the pre-final standpoint.
Okay.
The
mid-90s, you've already doing that.
Well, no. Actually, no. We did pea-pick. I apologize. We did two heats and a final, but we did pea-pick format.
I want to try the pea-pick. That just sounds like it'd be a good time.
For club, I love it.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's exactly.
We're going to it for challenge.
I think you're exactly no.
Oh, Jesus!
Once you get to a certain level, you do need to qualify.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm a huge proponent of the pea-pick.
I love it. Especially a double heat race. When
Oh,
you got
yeah.
2 heat, dude, pea-pick
You got time to do some
and
stuff.
then run it from there. You know what I mean?
Right, saves you time. Right.
Yeah,
because
for sure.
It saves you a whole hour.
Yeah.
Right. So now
Tri-C should go pea-pick.
Oh,
That'd be
awesome.
brilliant.
I ran. So a couple years ago, when I ran a little after I ran the Gatorz, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point. But
Yeah.
and then I ran a SoCal Rotax Championship, like a little 4-race deal, kind of like my CRC deal.
Yeah.
But I threw in a pea-pick race at Willow, and people freaked out because they didn't understand it because it had been so separated from it.
Oh,
That
gotcha.
it was so foreign to them.
How do we not qualify?
And here's going to be my back in my day grumpy old man part.
Right.
I'm sure I'll have a few more today. But the thing that the pea picking did was, one, is it taught you how to pass people safely, because there were varying speeds. I mean, you get the 10th place guy starting the pole, and you get the fast guy starting last, right? So you had to learn how to pass people safely. Not the guy that you may be a half a tenth faster than or a tenth slower than, but vastly different. But it also taught people how to be passed safely. How many times you go to the track and guys are pulling the F1 move, driving guys down to the bottom of the racetrack, right?
Yeah.
If you did that, you had Matt Johnson rolling through the field, right? Because he picked 18th, right?
Right.
And you get Andy in his first race or his third race starting third, and I drive Matt, which I never did because I know better. But drive Matt down to the apron. He'll let you get away with it once. You do it the second time, you're ending up on your head in the bales.
Yeah,
right?
I think he's gotten over it because I don't think he's going to do it at all now.
Right. So it just taught you it teaches you more how to be passed safely, because there was always somebody better than you and faster than you coming, right? And you knew you were going to have to deal with them, so you couldn't block, you couldn't do all the things that we see today, right? The kids and the drivers today are incredibly proficient at turning fast laps. Unfortunately, the racecraft is not anywhere near as good as it used to be, in my opinion. And I know I'm going to probably insult people with that statement, but it took maybe it just took a shorter amount of time, because the P-pick taught you.
It forced you.
It forced you.
Yeah,
that's a better
good way
word.
to put it.
Forced to get that racecraft.
Yeah. It's trial by fire, and we actually see that all the time. Actually, I work with some of the arrive and drive guys. We hear the phone going because you're open.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is that when you when you are forced to be passed almost as much or more than you are doing the passing, it's a hell of a lot easier to go attack.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a lot harder to be attacked and not lose the world. How many times, even in the arrive and drive stuff, we got wraparound guards and the whole thing, people, they start being passed where they turn into the other person.
Yeah.
Right.
They haven't figured out how to frickin' race with people at all.
And two things to add on to that. You're 100% right, because I was just thinking about that. I mean, I remember, I think it was a conversation you talked to me back when I was doing PRD. The best way to learn how to race is, or how to pass, is by getting passed. And at least being aware of what the guy was doing. You know, have an idea.
Wait, and you learn from your failures.
Oh, yeah.
And if you get a chance,
As long as they're not catastrophic.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. If you go and try it and it doesn't work out, well, okay, why? And if someone else tries it and it doesn't work out, well, it forces you to counter or do whatever. You learn so much by going wheel to wheel.
And this, in the last side benefit of it is, so think about if you're, been racing for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, whatever, and you're the 10th or 12th place guy, right? You're with the 11th place and the 9th place guy. That's your group, right?
Right.
So you never get to be around the lead pack ever until you get there. Well, in the pea-pick scenario, you're going to get one of the fast guys around you, so you will actually get to follow them for a lap.
Yeah, it's kind of
where
like
you would never ever be close enough to follow them.
At least have an idea of what they're doing.
They're doing, right? You go, oh my God, I missed that apex by 3 feet. No wonder I'm so bad.
It's
right?
like the club guy going to regional or the regional guy going to national, like we talked about with the Super Series when we had the Grand Nationals, and you had the people from all over the country and shit like that coming in. When you go against people who are better than you, you learn so much. If you are, like you said, kind of stuck or hung out around the same people every time, it either slows the progression or stagnates.
The same goes to be said about racing at different tracks, man. And
absolutely.
People that become one-track heroes that only go to one place.
Yep.
That are either afraid or just hesitant to go to a different track.
I feel personally attacked right now.
I'm just telling you, you have a different situation. You live there.
Yeah. I've actually had that same shit, like people talking about that. I'm like, I travel. I try different places when I can.
No, but that's definitely a fair point. You're only going to learn so much from going to one track, right?
But it helps you. Going to other tracks actually helps you even at your own track, because at your own track you get into habits, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Even how many times have we all coached people and you're like, no, you're doing it like this, please do it like this, and you go out and they still go right back to right. It's just ingrained. It's muscle memory.
Yeah.
They go back to the same bad habit. Whereas you go to a different track and you attack a different corner a different way, all of a sudden something clicks and you go, oh, wait a minute, that corner's a lot like
just added context. That's
right.
What it comes down
to. Added
to.
context.
Yeah.
Look at you. You're so smart out of Cal Speed.
Running the grid office, you talk to some smart people from time to time, Andy. You being one of them.
You actually get that. I had the same thing at the arrive and drive stuff. We go to the national championship for the arrive and drive, and you go to an indoor track. Well, the indoor tracks typically change your track all the time,
right?
But the track had been there for a month or whatever at least before you showed up. So the locals have already gotten a chance to cut their teeth there. But you'd go there and whether it be yourself or somebody else, somebody would do it different than the locals. And it was faster. And they're like, how in the hell is this happening?
Yeah.
And shit, man, I saw that at Cal Speed, where people like at the Grand Nationals or even like at the Challenge or whatever, this is the way you go through the corner. This is the way you go through the corner. Instead of it being like, this is the way you get around it, and then you find out that there's actually a completely different way, and they were faster. Like, holy crap. Yep. So, when, like you said, when you go, oh, wow, this corner is a lot like this other one, understanding the fundamentals of how to get around the course for the course, not the tips and little tricks or whatever, or this particular thing.
A lot of times it just has to do with which corner you sacrifice.
Right?
Right.
Oh, man, 100%.
It's sacrificing that corner to make that one better, and instead people are doing it opposite, right?
Yeah.
They're making the wrong corner the important one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the current track that we have at Cal Speed, Technico, it happens all the time, and it's people try to get up the hill, but they are full throttle through the right-hander. Lift,
shallow.
bro.
Yeah.
Lift, chill out, and then get this massive run coming up the hill. I mean, that's what you do.
Right.
Or you could do what everybody else is doing, is hauling ass, slamming on the brakes, and it doesn't make any sense.
It worked for me once. Can't replicate it.
So I got to stick with it.
Yeah. To go back to the pea-pick, and you just talking about, this generation versus, the old school guys, you're just having to learn how to race and stuff. I think talking to a lot of the Masters guys, if you will, their argument is the body work. if I know the big thing is getting rid of the rear bumper and sometimes even making the side pods go away to an extent. Just contact's going to happen, and now you can determine how much of that's going to happen at times.
Yeah, the bodywork. The pluses and minuses. Is it inherently safer now? Absolutely. I mean, my first kart just had the little tiny elephant ears in front of the rear wheels. That's all it had, right?
Yeah.
Right. So you know what I'm talking about, Derek? It just had they were literally 6 inches of a little thing in front of the wheel. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
There were no bars on the side. There were nothing. Right. And then your foot, your feet, you're
hanging out in the world.
I mean,
they're exposed. Yeah,
they're exposed. Right.
You go actually literally push the dude in front of you.
Right.
Or I kick him if you tried.
Yeah. Right. So in the interest of safety, they didn't invent the bodywork, and obviously
they look cooler. Too.
I think the side pods were a great thing. Then it got to the noses, right? And then it was like, man, now I can really push people around. And then it got to the bumper, right? The bumper was the one that was over the top, right? Even the oldest of old schoolers will say, the side pods are cool. But the minute you added that big plastic bumper on the back, it changed the dynamic.
The name.
Yeah, bumper, right?
Yeah.
It's not safety plastic. It's bumper.
Safety plastic.
Right. So, I mean, that certainly did change, certain things. Eric's coming in and saying hi. It changes that dynamic for sure.
Yeah.
I'm keeping that. I'm looking at that later.
So, so we're in the middle of a functional day here at FTK. Eric Thompson's here. Ed Quinn's here. They're just hanging out, eating lunch, which has lasted about 5 hours, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Eric Thompson walks in, drops in a
Go Racing magazine.
When we moved here, that's the May 09 Go Racing magazine. What is it? What's the date on the front?
Let's see. Yep.
With Paul Bonilla,
Volume 14,
myself, and
number 5,
and Tyler Brooks. Bonilla, myself, and Tyler Brooks in the photo on the front.
We're gonna get a picture.
Oh,
of it. We'll
wow.
throw it on
Yeah.
Look at the photo, bud.
I mean, that was
so.
Look at the far
okay,
right.
so on the cover, it's Bonilla leading by it looks like a mile.
Yeah,
he probably lapped Andy and Tyler Brooks in the background. On the picture,
it was actually a practice shot.
Yeah, on the picture that Eric handed us, got a young Paul Bonilla, Angel Mata, Eric Thompson, and a very young looking Rob Niles. Oh, that's Mark Michonne.
Yeah.
Jean Crow. I don't recognize you guys with all the gray hair. Sorry.
Look at the left. You also have Efren Oliveras on there.
Efren is there too. Yeah.
That's cool. We're going to get a picture of that, throw it up on that. We're going to do that today. Cool. I think we're going to put that up on the Damn It.
This will be an additional bonus thing.
Absolutely.
But I had to stop to say that.
No, I dig it.
That is really cool.
I don't know if we can keep this in the show or not, but I
you can keep that. We have a couple of those. That was the month I moved in here to this shop.
Oh, really?
I call that the FTK commemorative issue, right? It was a Gatorz race that I put on. I'm on the front cover, although be it behind Bonilla Fairways.
Right, yeah.
We just moved into the new shop. It was there was so much FTK in that thing as I damn near sponsored the whole magazine.
What's Rob Niles doing in here?
Gatorz?
He had come by. He had come by.
Oh, just came by.
He had come by.
He heard there was gonna be a photo op.
We used to have what started at the old shop. So and we started Tuesday night team meetings. And it was just Tuesday night, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, show up. We'll go to the little bar and grill across the street, grab some food, grab some stuff, grab some drinks, and have a good time, right? Just a bench racing bullshit session.
All right.
And that was, sometimes there'd be 3 people, sometimes there'd be
a group,
12, right?
Yeah.
It just depends. The kart shop role has changed. Once again, here we go. Grumpy old guy.
Let it keep going, man. Yeah,
grumpy old guy, right? Just to the team thing. So the team is different, right? A lot of the teams get their customers from they're far away people, right? They fly in or drive in. They rent their stuff, or or the shop takes care of their stuff. Their team, right? Old school, 10, 12, 15, 20 years ago, the shop was like a clubhouse, right? I mean,
right.
It's like a hangout place, and it still hasn't ended, right? I still have, like you said, Ed Quinn's here, having some lunch, chilling with Eric. But I did another podcast with EKN last week, right? We had a couple old school guys here hanging out that day too, right? My place has always been like that, once again, it's my personality and, what I like to do. Drink and bullshit with people.
At the end of the day, if people like the environment, I mean, it's the community aspect and it's the family aspect. And when you I always think about Cheers.
Right, yeah.
You want to go, everybody knows your name. You want to be, you go there where you're hanging out and you're having a good time. And actually, the indoor track that I used to work at Sidekart, people would literally just drop in and shoot the shit.
Right.
They didn't even buy a race.
Right.
But they talk shop, hang out. Hey, how are you? Because they love the joint.
Well, I remember doing that at K1, like Matt Widner and Robbie Sandvich. I couldn't afford a race that day, but I'd drop in and I'm like, oh, they'll be there for a few hours. I'll get dropped off and hang out, you know?
That's the epitome of literally having nothing else to do.
Well, when I wasn't
Like
at Vaughn's,
Edwin.
I was at a kart track. Yeah, Edwin. Poor guy.
Circling back to your gig here, and
Are we going all the way back to 1996 already?
we're gonna head,
my
we're
God.
gonna head back to you going racing again. I mean, when you get back into the game in the mid '90s, and you're racing, and you get lapped out of the gate, right? You got back in because like, oh man, I remember when I was a kid. This is badass. I want to try this again. You do it. You're like, this is not badass. this is what was the goal? What was the thought process?
My wife would show up, you know, bless her heart. She would show up and think to herself, you are the dumbest human alive. What are you doing here? And why are you spending all our money doing this? Right? Which is what Becky thinks of you.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And what Heather probably sometimes thinks of you.
No, it's all
It's not sometimes.
Let's not money things up here.
Right? So, yeah, I mean, it was a struggle. But, you know, I'm stubborn. And I wanted to prove to myself that I could do it. It's still fun. It's still amazing. Some of the most fun times, especially back then, even though I wasn't as good as I thought I was or should be, was going in the garage on a Friday night or a Saturday night, turn the radio on, cracking a beer, and I'm saying this properly, turning a 1 hour project into a 6 hour project, right? Polishing that stuff, just
do it,
right? And that was some of my therapy. So so the racing was the racing, but taking care of my own stuff and learning how to do it. I mean, I remember the first set of tires I mounted, man. Because when I raced in the 80s, they were all two-piece rims, right?
Right.
I got in the 90s, now they're one-piece rims. But the first set of tires I mounted myself took me 3 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I took a hacksaw out. I mean, everybody's laughing. People are hearing this are laughing, but people who were in my shoes remember that day. They're like, there's no way people do this. There's no way people do this, right? And now, obviously, I can do tires in a minute or less like a lot of guys can, right? Been 10 million sets of tires since then.
We got those Goliath hands, yeah, absolutely.
That helps. But yeah, so, a lot of some of that was therapy, right? So I enjoyed it, and I was stubborn, and I wanted to get better. And anytime I could, I'd go practice. Right? You couldn't get on the Oxnard track Monday through Friday, so I'd have to drive from the Valley to Adams to Paris.
So you're running, you're running Oxnard, right? In the mid '90s there on the weekends.
Yeah.
But you're working during the week.
Yeah.
So you're making the trek to Adams and then back during the week for practice?
No, I'd just go out there and or off Sunday or whatever, right? Because back then Tri-C was a Saturday club like they've always been.
But you didn't race anywhere else, just Oxnard?
No, that's all I could afford, and it was close.
Gotcha.
The next year got to the point where I had dug myself kind of into the mid-pack, just every race a little bit. Did a few races at Saugus as well that second year.
Okay.
LAKC deal.
And then the turning point was at the very end of 97. I went back to pits and said, okay, I think I'm at the point where I can repeat a lap and I'm in the mid-pack. I think a new go-kart may benefit me, right? Not like today where people need brand new stuff from the minute they start, right?
Absolutely.
Right. I'd been slogging it out for a year and a half. It was used when I bought it.
Oh,
and then,
right.
and I put a year and a half of the roughest laps it's ever had on it, right? Bent a lot of stuff.
But slower laps.
Slower, bendy laps, yeah.
Bendy laps.
Bendy laps. And bought a new chassis, bolted the engine on, and won my first heat race that very next weekend.
No shit. It was the equipment this whole time.
It was part. I mean, I wouldn't say it was all of it, but it was part of it, right? And it was like,
what kind of chassis did you get?
Top Kart.
Another Top Kart. Okay.
Top Kart was the business in the 90s.
And for pits for sure.
Early 2000s as well. Yeah, it lasted.
They had a good run. They had a really, really good run. Once again, went right back to pits to Doug, my guy, right, and bought a cart, and it's like, oh, I can do this. And then 98, they moved to Willow, so I raced.
Who's they? Sorry,
Gold Coast, because Oxnard basically kicked them out. They built Willow. Manning had helped them, build the kart track at Willow.
Okay.
Went up there, so I raced Gold Coast there. I raced LAKC at Saugus, and I did IKF. So,
you went from now. You win your first heat race. Like
now I'm like, I'm going to win everything now, right?
Yeah.
Was the wife there for the first heat race one?
She was.
Nice.
There you go.
She was probably sleeping or doing a crossword puzzle, but she was there.
Yeah, she was. And he comes back with the not trophy because it's a heat race.
Yeah.
And did you see?
Yeah,
I saw the checker come out, and you were the first one across. That's
were you
what
getting
you want,
laps?
right?
Were you getting laps?
Yeah. The scenario here is the that you did well, and she's like, God damn it! I guess we got to keep doing this now, don't we?
Right.
That was the linchpin right there. If you had not done well, that would have been the end of Andy Seesemann as the karting entrepreneur, which we hadn't even gotten to yet.
We've literally been talking an hour and a half, and we're like half a year into this. I mean,
Yeah.
this is gonna be a long interview.
Yeah, well, we also trim a lot of shit.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. We're gonna have to.
So you end up doing well. You end up really branching out. You end up doing. Did you say IKF as well?
Yeah, I did some.
So you're
IKF
doing
races.
a couple of some, not the whole thing.
No, I didn't race the whole thing, but then I did the IKF Grand Nationals in '98.
So you got after.
I jumped in it.
Okay, so you definitely got the punches. You got the whole business.
Yeah.
You're rolling.
Yeah.
How did you do in that '98 year when you're going all in for the first time?
I was back then Superbox. You go to IKF and there was like 40 guys in the class, and I was a 10th place guy.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, I dug myself into a good
In
spot.
senior. We're
In
talking
senior.
senior.
And we know
stuff.
that there was from other people we've talked to, there were some stout names in that top 10.
Oh no, there was. I mean,
The names.
Yeah, no, that was the class for sure.
So you're rolling in '98 and you're getting things done there.
10th on the best day, 15th on the worst day, but in a class of 40, that was kind of my spot.
And when you go club racing, you're at the sharp end.
I'm running up front. Yeah, there was some. So I mean, there was good guys. And every club had their good guys, right? And then all of a sudden there's 40 of them at IKF, right?
Right.
I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but you'd say you're pretty competitive, or were you just showing up and you kind of knew where you expected to finish?
I was competitive.
IKF?
I knew.
As far as IKF goes.
I knew those guys were better than me. Mm-hmm. I knew some of them had better equipment than me, but I still was stubborn enough to battle it out and to see where I could finish.
So were the other 39 guys, though. So.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the name of the game, right?
By better equipment, you're talking engines because you have brand
yeah. I mean,
new...
the Yamaha days, there's such a variance in engines, right?
That's what we heard.
And, you could, if you got a good, a good Doug blueprinted Yamaha, you could be in the game.
What's the last name on Doug?
Fleming.
That's what I thought.
And then, but then every once in a while, there were some, like if you put that one on, you're like, holy cow! There was an instant 3/10 to bolt on, right? I can fast forward to like '99. I'd had to stop. I had lost my job. we missed all this part, right?
Enterprise?
No, I left Enterprise and then I went to work for Southland, which is 7-Eleven.
Okay. So
I was a field rep or a field consultant, where I had like 10 different franchise stores, and you kind of help those guys run their business, right? So you're doing that. Once again, great business training, right?
Right.
But I had lost my job and I had raced, so I had to stop racing, and then that's kind of when I started helping people.
So you went all in '98, and '99 like good. You guys are lucky. I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
I wouldn't necessarily say that, but but that's when I started helping a family called the Carmody family.
Carmody.
Yeah, Chris and Justin Carmody. Their uncle had bought pit. They were big time Pitts customers, and then in '99 their uncle had bought Pitts, and like I said, I didn't have a job, and their dad hired me, paid me through his air conditioning company, and I was also their go-kart guy. So I was paid. I would go on air conditioning jobs with him. Mm-hmm. He taught me a trade, right? So I'd install and service air conditioners, home and commercial air conditioners, but then also, if we'd leave work at noon, I'd go work on the kart stuff for 3 or 4 hours before going home, and then travel on the weekends.
So you stay in the karting game by getting this opportunity here with the Pitts deal, and they buy Pitts.
Well, their uncle bought Pitts, so I wasn't working for Pitts yet, but I was working for the family, and then they were also helping me race. So I would work for them, like I said, during the week, help them on weekends, and then do an IKF and all the bigger events, and then they helped me when I would go race Gold Coast again back at Willow. So they would give me a set of their used tires, their IKF one race day tires, and I'd use one of their spare Yamahas, which was still better than the one I owned.
So you got a chance to stay racing.
I got to stay racing
at the club level only.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, just the club. So, but it kept me going, right? And that year, Jason Bowles won the championship. I finished second to Jason. So I kept in it, and then the next year, I went to work at Pitts. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Had you thought about, like, you've been in karting now, you got back in karting for a couple of years.
Was FTK a vision yet?
No,
not
anything
at all.
like actually working in the game at all? Like when you worked at Pitts before, okay, but Did you always think I'm going to have a job and I'm going to go racing?
Yeah, I thought I was going
There
to have
was
a job and I'm
no
going to go racing.
in the industry.
No, I never even thought, and it was never the plan.
To add on to that, did you think that you were going to own a business, or were you just kind of...
I didn't know,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
It was
Just because you were learning so much business stuff through all these other jobs.
Yeah, and accidentally went to school for it.
the
too.
biggest thing.
Yeah.
The biggest thing I figured out was I hated having a boss.
Oh, all right.
So I better own a business.
There you
because
go.
I hate being told what to do.
I believe that because every single time he's out at practice day, he's like, "This is the schedule, really, really, this is the schedule."
You walks up, hands me the challenge schedule. I'm like, sorry.
This is not it. So you're working at Pitts. You get this opportunity.
We're now like fall of 2000.
How old are you about?
Just turned 30.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, just turned 30. And Jay, the kid's uncle, had bought Pitts, and kind of needed some help with the business side, right? So I went to work there, and those were the amazing days at Pitts, right? We had Doug Fleming, we had Josh Robertson, who you might recognize as an engine builder.
Yeah.
We had a kid named Charlie Hemme, which they were training. Charlie Hemme eventually went up to work for Kartorama for Jack
no
and
way.
Roger. Yeah.
Wait, what was his name again?
Charlie Hemme.
Charlie.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, I knew a Charlie that was there.
Big tall kid, you know.
Wow, it's crazy small world.
And then DJ Silva, who was a great tuner, right? Great front end. So I mean, Pitts was cranking back then, right?
Wow.
So, and then I was basically running the books, you know. And then I'd still go on the weekends with the boys, and do stuff with them. So,
and when you're at the races and you're not racing, what are you doing?
I was their tuner.
You're tuning, okay?
I was a tuner.
Yeah.
I mean,
and you did all your own tuning before, right? It was the Andy Seesemann show. It's not like you were like hanging out with everybody else.
It was me figuring this stuff out the hard way, you know.
Okay.
And that's how I just learned the hard way. Like I'm going to put my hubs in. Oh, that sucked. I'm going to put my hubs out. Oh, that was better.
You're supposed to do that on practice day, by the way.
Right, but what are you going to, like, you don't
He's
know.
like, I can't afford to practice.
You
so
just
you
don't
show up
know.
on
You
race
really
day.
can't. You just do it, right?
Right,
So
right.
it was definitely a trial by fire,
I like that, though.
but taught me the way I do things, right? Good, bad, or different. It's my way, right? It's going to be different from anybody else's. But
For sure. But you also have I think the nice thing is that when we, thinking back to when I was a kid, I feel like almost every other person can attest, you almost have to do it your way. Like you could be told, your parents, anybody else, oh, don't do that, man.
You gotta
'cause
get
it's
out of
gonna
your
happen.
system.
But yeah, like you almost have to do it the hard way because in your head, like, and as you said, Andy, you're a stubborn guy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
you're like, oh no, I got this, you guys.
oh, it's the thing that frustrates me about my own kid.
Yeah, for me, changing
I
the
watch him
hubs
do the same thing. You're like, oh, really, you're not going to listen to me? All right, fine.
So you're running at Pitts. You're working, and are you still doing a little bit of club racing at this point?
No,
still?
I pretty much was done at that point.
Once you started working at Pitts in 2000.
Yeah, I'd stopped for 2000.
Okay.
What made you want to stop?
And you're again, you said 30.
Yeah.
What made you want to
It was
stop?
just money. I just couldn't
Yeah.
afford it at that time.
Kids yet?
No, not yet, not quite yet. But not to get too personal, but I had dug myself a pretty big financial hole racing.
Gotcha.
And it was like, okay,
Weird.
Didn't we all?
Yeah, exactly. Right. So it was like, from the time that I had been unemployed and ran up credit card debt and yada yada yada. Right. I just dug myself a hole like a lot of young people do.
Right.
And so I had to stop. And then we get to 01, and they introduced Rotax.
All right.
And then like everything changed for me. So they introduced Rotax. Joe Ramos brings this Rotax pack. Joe Ramos ran SSC Racing.
I'm sorry, I know the name. I know all that. I don't know where they're based out of.
Well,
I thought it was closer east or back east from here.
Where they started was in Seattle.
No, I knew that.
SSC is
Cycle Barn.
Seattle Speed and Custom is SSC Racing.
Yeah.
But yes, they were out in Palm Springs. They were basically right on the edge of the Palm Springs airport.
Okay.
Imported CRG, right? And Pitts was a CRG dealer at that point. They did CRG on Top Kart, right? So we had a relationship with him, and all of a sudden he brought in this weird Rotax package, right? So in the beginning, everybody looked at Rotax. It was an alien go-kart engine, right?
Right.
I mean, you're talking about Yamahas and KPVs, and now you have a 125
electric
start,
water-cooled.
Curvy ass pipe
with
on
a
the
crazy,
back.
like, what is that thing? Is an alien, right?
Yeah.
And in the beginning, people were like, "This is dumb." And then Joe Ramos had a vision. I was at the very first meeting when they, taught us about him, and I brought it back to
And you're at that meeting because of Pitts.
because of Pitts, because
Okay.
we were his biggest CRG dealer on the West Coast. So he had all those bigger dealers there that he wanted to introduce this program to, and Pitts in general wasn't really into it because it was just so foreign. It was just another project, right? man, it's going to cost us money to invest to get involved in this.
Because they're already killing it.
They're killing it. They're killing it on engines that you got to rebuild every two races, right?
Right. So, Yamahas,
yeah, right. I mean,
HVs.
you're putting pistons in every time you run every other time you run the thing, right?
Right.
So this is, this engine lasts 50 hours, and so
That sounds like a terrible idea.
why do we sell this thing? This is stupid. So I agreed to take it on. I said, hey, let's just try it. This is a cool thing. And then in the first 6 months, we sold like 10 or 12 of them, and I created. We ran around to the clubs. And I said, hey, if I bring these 12 guys, could you add a class? You provide the trophies. They'll pay you your entry fee. I'll just be there to support them. I've sold them each of these guys from pits, 12 set, each a set of tires. We're going to come race. And we did that the first year, moved it around.
It was for LKC. Were you doing
I did a race with LKC. I did one at Gold Coast.
This is all pits.
It was all at pits.
Yeah. This is you representing pits.
Me representing pits, representing
Okay.
this Rotax thing.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
Gotcha.
And
You're trying to help promote this package.
this new thing, right? Totally foreign. And
Wait, real quick. Sorry. What was it about it that you like? In general, this does not make any quote business sense to pits. What was it that you're like? Yeah, actually, I think it does.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Really.
being the now a 30-plus-year-old or 30-year-old hobbyist, right? It made sense for that demographic. It was long-lasting. There was no wet.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
There was no wet clutch. There's no wet clutch to adjust all
It's
the time.
easier on the consumer.
No, it was an easier on the consumer, right?
And you just got done, as you said, you got a little bit of a debt and whatnot from racing. So how can I maybe go racing maybe a high level and not
Right.
spend as much money?
Right.
So it almost talks to you a little
Right.
bit.
So the engines back then were, $19.99, right? And a good Yamaha was a blueprinted Yamaha was $2,000.
You're at that meeting, and obviously all this kind of stuff. I had always heard that Rotax was meant to be the club engine, that grassroots. Is that how they sold it at the meeting?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Oh, absolutely. That was the marketing from day one. And all the guys that raced were over 30. All those 12 packages, there were no kids. It was older, older,
Yeah,
30
plus
guys, right?
Masters, if
so it
you
was
will.
perfect. It was perfect for the guy. You throw it in the garage when you want to go race.
There it is.
There it is. Hit the starter button. Man, the thing starts every time.
As you say, 15 hours plus. There
15.
we go.
We were putting 25 on pistons and 50 on the bottom ends. I mean, I would run my engines all that. I had never had an engine. I mean, I raced the nationals every year, and we'll talk about this in a bit. But I never put less than 40 hours on a bottom end.
Wow.
Right?
That's
that
awesome.
is what I mean. I used to say that when I didn't have a Rotax or anything like that, but I would tell people when Rotax was rolling that if you're a hobbyist, get a Rotax because it was supported.
It's still one of the best hobby
and
karting
you don't
engines ever
have
made.
to. You just turn and burn. If it works, it works.
Yeah.
I mean, you click the choke. It goes. You click the choke down. It's as simple as a 206 in that regard.
Right.
Provided that the battery is charged.
Yes, correct.
You gotta
Battery
have
does
that.
run the ignition.
I've
have
seen
one
more
job.
Rotaxes
You had
sit
one
there not going anywhere because of one thing.
Yeah.
The battery.
But yeah, we ran that, and then in 2002, SSC put in a distributor. So it was actually e-karting news. The original guys that started e-karting news. They started e-racing outlet. They were just this is 02, so the internet is just the e-karting part, right?
Starting to come out,
Just
yeah.
starting to come, right? So they became the distributor. So Pitts then had to start.
E-karting outlet.
Yeah, e-racing outlet.
E-racing outlet.
So Pitts then had to buy from them, and they created a series for it. So the series that I kind of started, they kind of took over with JM Racing, which was the Tony Kart import at the time. They ran a spec Honda Alex Barron sponsored sticker kit thing, and we ran some Rotax classes, and that's what started the whole regional.
This is where? Where are they running these things?
Around we ran a regional program, Button Willow.
But this spec
also
class
Cal
ran
stuff.
all these different places. And they were doing the IROC, like everybody's got the same sticker kit kind of game going on.
Yep. And then the Rotax thing, we're all on our IROC type engines, right? No blueprinting, sealed engines,
Right.
yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
Which were great days, right? And then I started racing again. I'm like, well, hell,
And you're still at Pitts.
I'm still at Pitts. I'm not running the series anymore, or organizing the series. I had dug myself out of all my debt.
Nice.
I'm like, I think I'm ready to buy one of these now.
You go back to the wife.
Yes, go back.
Say,
Guess
hey,
what I'm getting?
We got out of debt. I got a great idea.
I got a great
I'm
idea.
gonna go racing again.
Who owned Pitts?
Jay Carmody, who was the kid's
Still.
uncle.
All right, so you go back to Jay and you're like, see, sales are up on the Rotax. You just
One more. There's one more.
yeah, there you go.
So I bought one, raced that first year.
What were you still on a top cart or went to CRG?
No, at that moment I was so then I had moved to CRG.
You got to go all in. You got to go with
right. So because when I got out, I got out. I sold it all. Right. I sold everything I had. Right, except my helmet and my driving stuff. Right. Then I'm like, well, hell, now I got to buy this stuff again.
Yeah.
Stupid past me.
What a vicious cycle.
But yeah, so I bought a CRG Heron, badass go kart. Love that go kart. In a Rotax and went Rotax racing
in 2002.
Two. Whatever that series was called, it was called the Micron 3 Cup back then.
The Micron 3 Cup. Yeah. This is essentially a club style.
It's club style series, but it traveled.
It moved around.
Yeah.
And what kind of places are you guys going? What clubs are you guys racing with?
But we didn't race with the clubs anymore. We had our own program.
Right? Not like a tag on. It was its own thing.
They decided because the e-racing guys and JM Racing decided, okay, I'm gonna bring all my spec guys, and there were like 40 or 50 guys in the beginning. So it at least broke even. It was all because we had sold those 10 or 12 the year before, and then all of a sudden we started selling more Rotaxes, and they brought 20 shifters. So all of a sudden there's 20 or 25 Rotaxes, 20 shifters.
And it was the Honda at the time for the shifter?
Spec Honda. Like
Pro Moto Tour stuff.
Almost it was even different. You had to use the JM pipe. You had to use it like they had their own. It was spec on the stock Honda thought process.
So you're still working. You're doing all these different events, but then you get to do a little bit of racing on the side with this Rotax thing, which is your brainchild for pits in the first place. How does this series go for you as a driver?
Oh, I won it.
You won.
I won Masters.
I like how you say that. Oh, obviously, I won it. So you win it. And
the good thing for me was
no wonder you like Rotax so goddamn much.
It's two things though. One is I caught it in its infancy, right? So I had a good knowledge base. I'll be honest, right? I was the most knowledgeable guy in the room at that time because I was there from the first day. It was also my transition to Masters, right? I turned 30, so I'd gone from. As you know, I'm a thick individual, right? But so I was always 210-ish, right? So racing Yamaha Super Can at 350, I was always about 10 over, right? Because if you get to be about 200 pounds, you can strip that Yamaha with no body, very little body work, right?
Yeah, 200 is that's the
But you get to 350, as you know, like an L206, you can get to about that level, but it's hard.
So did you ever? I got to ask because this is a thing with all Masters drivers, except for like Billy Cleveland because he's small. But did you ever work hard at trying to keep the weight down? And you're like, as long as I'm about 10 over and not more, I'll take it.
Are you talking about skinny Andy?
Yeah, there's no skinny Andy. There's no such thing.
I
tried. So
I only bring that up because Andy gives me shit.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Skinny Mike versus Fat Mike.
Yes.
One's more jolly.
Yes, but I was older. So I was older, and the fittest and thinnest I was actually like 218 at that moment. And that's a couple years later. We'll get to that.
Okay.
But goddamn muscle always weighs more. It's messed
up. I'm not the 250 I am now. But yeah.
But we love the 250 you are.
I'm jovial.
I like that jovial. All right. You basically end up running that the Rotax race. What was it called? It was the Micron 3 Championship.
Micron 3 Cup, yeah.
Micron 3 Cup. You're running that championship. You end up winning that. It's the debut year for that. Mm-hmm. That's got to be big right out of the gate because this is an opportunity where you actually everything's coming together as we talk about getting to the Masters situation. Mm-hmm. You're still working at pits.
Until right at the end.
Until
right at the very end. That's where
of that year.
That's where it all ended. Right at that moment. So I'd won the championship. We had one race to go in the championship, and I started to get the idea of FTK. So now we're finally at this point.
All right. So we can all agree that once we started to get the idea, something sparked it. Something was going on. How? Why is FTK in the brain? What's going on?
Just
I'm working the business. I can do this. I know how to.
Yeah, some of it's that. Some of it's, you have a level of expectation, and anybody who takes a job, there's promises and there's verbal agreements and there's written agreements, and I think I kind of felt at that moment that the agreement that I had with Jay wasn't being honored. Whether that's true or not, whatever. I just felt that whatever agreement we had verbally that we had set 2 years ago when I stepped to pits, that wasn't being honored. And basically I went back to him and said, hey, we need to talk about these things financially, yada, yada, yada. And basically, you get hit with the Heisman.
No thanks.
The Heisman trophy, right?
Right.
So then I just started to look on my own, and it was
So you basically, hey, I would like to have blank because I don't feel like I'm getting the blank that I was supposed to get. That was a no. You're still working.
Still there.
Still racing, but now you're actively going, I'm going to do something different.
Yeah, maybe.
And this is the end of 2.
This is like the summer of 2.
Okay.
It's kind of happening. And then right during that time, we had a shop here in Orange County called Yamaha of America. They weren't related to Yamaha at all, but it was called Yamaha of America, a long-time shop. Dick Hansen ran it, and he had passed away. And his wife, Pat Hansen, who she was running it, but almost out of nostalgia. And, the business wasn't doing well. But I had been talking to Pat, realized that I didn't have the capital it needed to buy an existing business. But I had started noticing around, right? And obviously our community is small. So I walked into work one day. Now, so this process has taken a couple months, I'd go in and talk to her, chit-chat. Oh, yeah. So then now we're talking about September of 2002. And I walked into work one day, and the owner basically said, so, I hear you're leaving me. I said, what?
Huh.
I hear you're leaving. And I said, I'm not leaving. Well, I hear you that you're planning on trying to buy out another shop or go out on your own or whatever. You need to leave. So basically we separated at that point. I mean, there was other stories, but,
For sure,
we separated.
Well, that's a challenge because we're not just talking about how that maybe affects your racing. This is food on the table.
Yeah, no, at that point, my son was...
I'm sorry, wife working?
Yeah. So
and you do have kids.
She ran a child care center. Trevor had been born. Trevor was a year and a half. We had bought a house 9 months earlier.
Perfect.
Like life is going, right?
Yeah.
Kid, house, blam, blam, blam. And all of a sudden, I remember I was in my truck. I flicked my phone. I flicked my Motorola flip phone up.
Yes, you did.
Called her at work and said, well, I guess I'm in business for myself. She went, what?
It's time to hit
We're
the
going to
ground
expand
running.
the child care centers.
She was working for somebody else. It was a corporate deal, right? But she's to her credit, on the telephone call, she's like, okay, well, whatever we need to do, let's do it.
You make this call, but when you walk out of pits, do you kind of feel ready for the next step, or were you like, I got some
shit.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of emotions that go through this. There's the I'd put in my time. I'd learned the business. I definitely knew how to run a business.
Mm-hmm. How well known is the Andy Seesemann name yet? Let's say, just going with that, you're going to start your own company. Andy Seesemann started his own kart shop. Is it going to be good enough for that, or is it like there's just a kart shop no one's ever heard of?
It did because of Rotax. Because at that point, because I was the Rotax guy at pits. Right?
Gotcha.
The 30 or 40 or 50 guys that we had sold engines to and supported up to that point. Now, they weren't all going to the track all the time. Or whatever.
They'd done business with you.
They'd done business with me. I was the guy they knew, right? Because they'd buy stuff. I'd see them at the track. I'd bring their tires. I'd bring their stuff, right? So,
and then you actually happen to be a halfway decent driver because
halfway decent, yeah.
Boom, championship. So it actually, if you were going to open up a shop, the wherewithal, or at least the reputation needed to do something like that, is going to be good enough. Now it just comes down to capital.
Yeah. Which I didn't have much of, right? But I did like any other person. I started right in the garage. I went right to the county, got a business license, wrote the DBA financial statement
from the ground up. Yeah,
from the ground up. Went and bought a trailer, bought just a 14-foot, $2,800 bare bones trailer on the credit card. Put a sticker on the side, FTK.
How'd you come up with Full Throttle Karting? How'd you come up with FTK?
I wanted something that wasn't my name. Some people have their name on their business. It just wasn't my deal, especially knowing my last name, right? How many different ways is my last name probably been
Seeseman.
Right? Different ways have been pronounced and said over the years. It's a terrible name, right? I'll give a plug to my buddy Seth, right? Nash, great name, right? 4 letters, pretty hard to screw up.
Yeah.
Seeseman, 9 letters, silent E's and S's and umlauts, and
what kind of? Where are you? What's
German? It's an old German name.
Is it okay?
So my grandpa's name was Heinrich Wilhelm Seesemann, but the two initial E's should have the little 2 dots, the umlaut over it.
I was about to say there's no accents or anything on this thing.
So the only time my name's ever pronounced correctly, I went to Austria to the Rotax factory, and I checked into the hotel in Linz, Austria, or no, Gunskirchen, whatever little town we were in.
Can't pronounce it.
And the front desk goes, Mr. Seesemann, nice to see you today. And I went, oh my God, I'm in the homeland.
Yeah. I get used to this place.
Yeah, no, probably not. Too much Wiener Schnitzel. But yeah. So I just my name isn't conducive. My last name is conducive. So I wanted something generic, but that had an easy logo. And I sat down. I was friends with Brett King. We sat down at my kitchen table. And he just comes up with all these crazy, the Brett King we all know, right?
For sure,
all these crazy. And I'm like, how about just FTK in black letters with a red and a blue stripe? And he's like, okay, how about this? And there's all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, how about FTK in black letters with a red and a blue stripe? And about the 8th time I said that to him, he came up with that logo that everybody knows. Is there's one over there, right?
Yeah.
There's one there. And I think the logo's stood the test of time. It's simple.
It works, yeah.
Right?
Everyone recognizes it.
Does what it's supposed to do. It's recognizable. So Brett and I did it at my dining room table.
So you're out of the garage here with your buddy Brett hooking you up with this this awesome design on the first try.
I'm sure his designs were much better, by the way.
Yeah, I just think where you would be.
His logos were super amazing, but
so you do this thing. What was the thought process out of the gate? Obviously, you have to make money, right? So that's probably egg number one. But
so first thing,
kart shop team, like I guess
first thing
there
was the team thing wasn't big back then. It was shop, right?
So how are you going to do a shop out of the garage?
Brick and mortar, right? There had to be a brick and mortar. So, but first thing is sell some stuff, get some capital. So right then, JM Racing was the longtime Tony Kart importer, the ones that were involved in the Micron 3 Cup. They had gotten a big fight with Tony Kart. They had lost their importership because JM started to invent their own kart called the Avanti, which you've probably seen a couple of old ones.
Actually, we heard about that via Jesus.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Right, because P1 was then later involved in it, or Position 1 was later involved in it.
Right.
So, it was his own brand. He wanted to have his own brand. Well, obviously, Tony Kart got mad, said, you're our importer, you can't have your own brand, yada, yada, yada. So they dissolved their relationship. CRG had pits, which I just left. They were blocking anything I was going to ever,
So you weren't doing CRG?
They're not doing that. But there were literally, Nash was a CRG dealer.
Well, CRG was the shit at the time.
It was the shit, right? So there were probably 6 CRG dealers in Southern California,
yeah,
right?
with SSC and all the other stuff going on,
right? Top Kart had kind of gone run hits away, right? So Burrell, Tony Kart, CRG.
Yeah, Tony Kart was the way to go.
But they had lost their importer.
Right.
Nobody knew what the future was going to be. Right. Tony Kart then wasn't Tony Kart now. It wasn't quite where it was. So I looked around, and Burrell had 1 dealer in Southern California. So I'm like, wow. So I went, all right, well, I could be 1 out of 7, which I probably wasn't going to get. Try to be the dealer of something that they just had to blow up with their importer. Who knew what was going to happen? Right. Or this other brand that everybody knows that has 1 other dealer. So it was an easy decision, right? Mm-hmm. I called up Paul Zalud, who was a pseudo Burrell importer up in the Northwest. He was
this
running
before Stars, though. He had split.
Correct. It was that other thing he ran, whatever it was called. But they sent me my first bucks. He had like 2 go-karts. Like, okay, I'll take them. I went and tested. Went pretty good. Sounds great. Sold the next one, and went, oh, now what?
I had 2 go-karts. I have now no go-karts.
So now he doesn't have any. So then I call up MRP in Michigan. Introduce myself to Gary, explain to him my situation.
Loba.
Yep. And he says, well, do you have a business plan? I had actually written a business plan. I sent him a business plan, and he said, well, you're the only person who's ever sent me a business plan that I've asked for a business plan from.
Oh, wow.
You're now a dealer. So sold, started selling carts right out of my garage. I called up SSC and said, hey, here's my plan. And they were not happy. They didn't want to offend Pitts, which was a huge dealer for them. And I just said, look, all these guys have basically left with me. I'm doing this the right way. Here's my business plan. And to Joe Ramos' credit, he signed me up as a dealer.
You're in a conversation with him about engines, not chassis.
Yeah, just about Rotax engines.
Right. So you have the Burrell gig that you just hooked up with MRP, basically. Mm-hmm. You got a couple from Zalud that kicked you off. Mm-hmm. MRP is going to keep you rolling. Mm-hmm. But engines, you need something to put on the bloody thing. Mm-hmm. And obviously, you're connected with Rotax. Yep. The only way to put Rotax engines on there is SSE. Mm-hmm.
The very first Rotax engine I sold was to Mike Giles, my current customer.
Get out of here.
Kidding, right? Wow.
That guy needs to branch out.
I know, right? Well, crazy. He lost. He was gone for a while. Some things happened in his life where he vanished for. Like, he literally bought the first engine out of my garage. I don't even think he raced it one time. Went to the track twice, broke it in, and then had some catastrophic things happen in his life, and vanished for like 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And then, or longer, probably longer. And then showed back up again.
And he's full on.
Year later, and now
Wow.
I built him another kart here today, right?
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, it was like bam, 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 right?
So the first year of FTK is 2003, and you're basically, it's a trial by fire. Like you whether you're going to do FTK or not, you probably weren't going, hey, kick to the curb and then forced to start this wasn't probably the beginning of that plan.
Right, yeah.
But it sounds like things came together pretty damn quick.
Things came together very quick, and I had Eric just pull a picture off the wall to show you. So we go now. It's March or April. Is the date on there? March of 03, right? I'd moved into my new shop, so I'll backpedal a little bit. So now it's now we're in October of 03, right? I'll backpedal from the picture that I'll show you in a minute.
Okay.
So October 03.
October 03 or October 02?
Sorry, October 02.
Man.
Apologize.
You're
already losing.
This guy's
Eric
bad over
Thompson squared.
All right. October 02, put the Burrell together, go test, go to the first Rotax Nationals that I can compete in because they had one the year before.
In two. Oh, God, I have to just set it up. You are working for Pitts. You're killing it in this Rotax championship. That last race, is that with Pitts or without Pitts?
The last race was without Pitts.
Okay, so yeah, there it is. You're working at Pitts, and you're killing it right now, but you've got one more race to go, and now you're not at Pitts.
Yeah.
And you're like, shit.
Yeah.
Oh, I got this. We're going to get this Burrell I've never been on before. I'm going to go ahead and jump onto this thing, do one more race on the Rotax deal. Oh, by the way, win the championship. Oh, by the way, run the frickin' Nationals.
Oh, by the way, I didn't race the Burrell in the last race of the local. I didn't have it yet. I raced my CRG at the last race of the local.
Oh, no shit.
The first race I brought the Burrell to was the National.
Wasn't that?
Oh, no.
And this is two. This is the ass
two.
Which
end of
I've
two.
never gotten, by the way.
And this is
Even
Masters.
even to this day, people will run a Tony kart, all club racing season, regional. Go Nationals, comp kart.
Yeah.
CRG.
Weird,
I'm like, I don't get it.
Weird bastards.
Anyways.
I've done that later. I've done that, but
Don't do it.
Maybe you
I've
can
done
answer
it,
my question why.
or at least a different model. But
So,
yeah,
the very first Nationals you do is
because
2002.
because 2001 was the first Rotax Nationals, but it was only for senior. That was it. In 02, they added Masters, Junior. They hadn't. I don't think they had MIDI yet, and I'm not even sure they had added DD2 yet. I'm not sure, but I know they at least had Junior, Senior, and Masters.
So real quick though, I mean, you had mentioned earlier and confirmed, I should say, it was supposed to be a grassroots program. Where does this Nationals thing come around?
The Nationals thing was actually a great idea because it was more like a festival. It wasn't a big. It was a everybody come. We'll have one big event, and whoever wins gets the trip to the Worlds. Because remember, Rotax still had the World Championship too. It was a grassroots program with a World Championship attached to it. It was a weird.
And that all came out at the same time?
All came out at the same time.
So they're like, hey, we're going to go to the club level, but have a World Championship at the end you get tickets to?
Get tickets to, but the first several years, you brought your own go-kart. So,
Oh, Jesus.
So it was, that was, trust me, it was
built
a
around
typical,
European.
It was the typical Austrian, German, oh, yes, we can make this work. And if you can't, it's your own problem, right?
Right.
But yeah, no, if you won on your comp cart, you would box it up and ship it, or the comp cart importer would give you a comp cart, to go, but it would travel around the world, right?
Yeah.
For you, Derek, comp car hasn't existed.
Well,
yet
I'm
at
a very
this point.
important
Or
guy,
GFC
being the
or-
assistant manager at Cal Speed. I have very many things I can pull. Assistant to the regional manager at Cal
Wow.
Speed.
Okay. So now I'm on the same page about where this thing came from. All right. So you're getting a chance to go do this thing, and it's the very first championship, the national championship you get to do.
Yeah.
Period. You did the IKF thing.
Yeah.
But this is you and Rotax are clicking.
Yep.
Obviously. How's this first championship go? This first national championship, 2002.
I put it on the pole by like half a second.
Get effed.
I think I won 2 of the 3 heat races. In the third heat race, I got crashed out and then in that year, we ran.
You didn't name anybody. You
Yeah, I was
didn't
about to
say
say,
anybody.
you can name the
I got
name.
crashed out by ...
It's been 15 years plus. It's all right.
It's been 18 years, and
You put on second and a half pole. What was so different between you and the rest of the field in that qualifying session?
once again the gear thing we just talked about.
Oh, right. Yeah.
I understood how to pull a taller gear than anybody else did.
Okay.
Right? It's
Off camera, we were talking about Jeremy Kane, and the gear difference he would run and whatnot. So you're saying that you played a little bit of a different card in the gearing game.
Yeah, I just figured out that so the race was at Xplex, which was an incredible track.
Close.
Right?
Okay.
At outside of Vegas, right? Mm-hmm. And just the way that track was, it had one hairpin, but everything else was full throttle.
Pretty
you were just
damn straight.
thundering, right?
Had you been there before?
Oh yeah, I had been there, and so I just figured out that to try to keep in the power band of the engine, so I just kept taking as much gear off as I could and get the kart free enough to come off the one hairpin to stay in the power band around the whole rest of the track, and I just figured it out before anybody else did. That's all.
Gotcha.
All right. But unfortunately, got crashed out in that third heat, so they ran out of time. They screwed up the timing, yada yada. So they decided they couldn't run a pre-final. So I started
3 heats, a pre-final, and a main.
Yeah, typical CIK system because there were 40 guys in Masters.
Well, one the other thing is you only had 3 bloody classes, so
right.
you got a lot of time to
right?
fill up, right? Yeah.
Start like 10th or 12th or whatever. Run the leader down with 2 laps to go. Pass him for the lead. On the last lap, make the colossal mistake of blocking coming off the hairpin.
With the tall gear.
With the tall gear,
yeah.
Right? Which, right? You don't think at the time, right? I just ran that guy down from 300 yards back.
Right.
I'm so much faster, but then you're going to block anyway, right? So I block off the slowest hairpin with a taller gear than everybody else. He gets back alongside of me as we're rubbing. Sorry. The guy in third passes us both. I get the other guy back for second, finish second. The other guy wins, who had never been a part of the race,
He never should have been there.
Yeah, he was there. He did the right thing, right?
He wasn't in the conversation until it became part of the conversation.
Some crazy thing happened in tech. They originally said he was DQ'd. They hand me the win. The win was worth $3,000 in cash.
Oof.
And a trip to the Worlds just to go watch because there was no Masters class.
Gotcha.
I took the $3,000 because I just started FCK, wrote my mortgage payment.
Damn right you did.
Wrote my mortgage payment off it. And then
you were going there for the payment.
Yes. Yeah. And then they overruled the DQ and gave the guy the win back.
Oh no shit! How soon after?
Wait, hold on, pause.
And stop payment on the check.
Get out of here.
With my mortgage riding on the check.
My!
Dude.
What the hell,
man? I know. This is why this takes so long because I have so many stories.
Meanwhile, your wife's like, "This is why we don't do karting."
Yeah. No, it went from the highs to highs, the lows to lows, right?
So
you're so right until you're so wrong.
Oh, yeah, no.
So about 10 minutes ago, we took a break, and Andy's saying he's like, "We're about 2.5 years into this thing, about 2 hours into this conversation as well." I'm like, "Hey, keep it rolling, man."
Yeah,
but. That's why you're just saying this is why the conversation takes so long.
I'll tell you right now. I mean, that's just it. I hear on the Full Caster podcast. The thing is that there's all these people in the industry, but it's all different for everybody. Mm-hmm. It's completely different.
Amazing. No,
it's absolutely just like it's never cut and dry.
I was chatting that same discussion with somebody just the other day about. I said, you think about Rock the Rio, right? There's 300 drivers there, right? Which means there's 1,000 people there, right? Overall. You think about your story, and all you're focused on that whole week is your story, right? Your story is your story, right?
That's a good point.
And then there's 6 other people that are associated with your story, right? Your guy, or your friend, your wife, your whatever. But there's 6. But really, there's 1,000 different stories, and they intersect 15 different. But they're just all so different, right? And it'd be so amazing if you could actually backpedal and look at all those different stories and see.
Outside view of it, yeah.
Oh man,
amazing,
yeah.
right?
Just
I like hearing that. That's a good way to put it.
It ends swimmingly. The amount of shit that happens at the ass end of 2002 between having a job, not having a job, starting a new game, blah, 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 racing, big win, no payment on the house, so on and so forth, 2003.
Open the new shop, which like I said is like a mile west of here.
So you go, you know what? That went out so well. I'm going to go get my own place.
It's part of the deal. It's part of the progress, right? You have to do it, right? Because
we had credit cards left, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was a dealer of a major chassis brand, which I still carry today, right? A dealer,
Burrell,
of Rotax, right? So it's like, yeah, we're doing this. We're all in, right? We go out. We get LAKC adds a Rotax class. They run a Rotax class, one class that are masters and seniors, one class at 385 pounds. At the first race, they had 42 guys in it.
Wow.
There's the front row. Both FTK Burrells standing on the front row.
So, again, we're recording this here, and he showed us a
picture. But
March 2003, Irwindale, Front row, FDK racers, we have arrived.
Wow.
There's only like 4 people in this picture, so it's easy to get in the front row. Now the picture's full of Rotax racers.
Is there anybody we recognize?
There's probably nobody in there that you because back then Rotax was all older guys. Probably the youngest guy in this field is my age.
Oh,
right?
really? Early 30s.
Right. And the oldest guy is probably 60 or 55, right? So
yeah.
2003, FTK is a thing. You and Brett King have already come up with your wild idea of this logo, and et cetera, this name. You had a hell of a coming of age, if you will. But obviously, at LAKC, boom, FTK. Who the hell is this? Well, how'd the rest of 2003 go?
It went great. I backed out of the seat a bunch to focus on the business. I mean, I still raced. I just didn't race as much. I raced enough to get my Rotax punches for the Nationals.
And I'll hit pause if you don't mind. That actually, correct me if I'm wrong, that ends up being your MO for like the next always.
Ever.
Yeah.
Because when I showed up around here in 11, 12, you would pop in the seat every once in a while, and that's what I heard. It was just enough to stay sharp, just enough to go run Nationals and be in the game. Mm-hmm. And so from the time you started the game here with FTK, you switched off of it as a driver predominantly.
Yeah, I mean, I'd go back and forth. We'd, race. When it got closer to the Nationals, I'd get in the seat more.
Right.
Make sure you're ready for it.
Earlier in the year, when I had as the year starts, you have more newer customers, right? They need more of your help, right? So 03 was still the next year of the Micron 3 Cup, right? So
defending champion.
But I didn't race. I mean, I raced 4 races, to get my punches, right? But I had so many customers, and that program had built up.
I was to say, did you come in hot with customers? Did people jump in right away with you?
Oh, yeah. Good point, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I probably had, 30 or 40 guys. I mean,
no shit.
But it wasn't a team, right? When there's no team.
Yeah.
It was just guys that would come in and buy a set of tires and a spark plug and a chain, right?
And is this from the relationship built at Pitts?
Yes. It went from the relationship built at Pitts on all the beginning guys to then being, to having somewhat of a reputation as a driver. Then at that point, I got a little street cred, right? I just won last year and then, put on the podium at the Nationals.
Right. You know what you're talking about.
And then came back again. And in the early years of Rotax, nobody else really did it.
Oh.
Right?
Lack of competition helped.
Right. There was no, back then the engine builders were different. There were no, Jesus from P1 wasn't in business yet. Blake wasn't in business yet. Doug Fleming was still around, but they didn't even.
They weren't touching Rotax
and was it
yet.
still sealed at this time?
Still sealed, so you didn't have to really do it, right? So as long as you could sell the thing, you were fine until it went on, right?
Right.
Now over years it changed. Guys started to tinker with them, and as the program, when that shift for younger people, then you get dads and money and blah 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 blah, right? So 03 went great, had a bunch of customers that program built. Went back to the Nationals. Went to the Nationals on the same brand go-kart, different model. Sucked completely.
Are we talking about 2003?
3, yeah.
So 2003, you said same brand?
Still on the Burrell, but right before the Nationals, Tim Lobaugh, Gary's son, goes, no, this R31 is the best go-kart ever. You need to get on it.
Oh, man.
Jumped on it. Sucked.
What were you driving all year? Or
an R32, which is an all 32 millimeter but single bend go kart, where the R31 is a dual bend waist go kart, like what we have now, but it was a 30-32. So imagine what every brand of go kart kind of looks like now,
right?
Except the front hoop and crossbar and front and behind the seat are all 32 millimeters, but you also had a double loop at the seat at the gas tank, which makes it stiffer. Mm-hmm. Whereas my 32 had a single loop at the waist, so it made it twist a little bit. So it's just different. I was just used to the 32. I jumped on that 31. I was terrible. Crazy thing, right? Came home a month later, went to the track after being pissed off. Made 2 changes and the thing lit up on fire. Just 2 things I just didn't think about.
Did you feel like when you went to these big races, because at this point, you're kind of dialing back on the driving, but you're making sure you can go to the show. Did you feel like you weren't able to focus as much on your own racing because you're a team leader, if you will?
And also to add to that, was it a priority?
Yeah, there you go.
It wasn't. I mean, I did it because I really enjoyed it. I really wanted to be a part of it and have a good time. My customers were first, though. Now. The next step, we'll get into that. 03 was pretty easy because I just went with a couple guys.
Mm-hmm.
'04 is when it got serious on both ends of the spectrum. '04, not yet. Halfway through '04, the guys that ran the Micron 3 Cup said they had gotten the Gator sponsorship. So Kerry Lynch, the owner of Gatorz,
Right.
Okay.
huge Kerry, huge karting supporter, right? Had done plenty of things at Cal Speed.
Come on.
Right. Had some Rotaxes back in the day. Right. He started racing with us, so then he put his name on the series. Halfway through the year, these guys decided, and it was, remember I said these are the e-karting news, the original e-karting news,
right.
racing outlet guys.
They're the ones that started it, right?
And then the JM guy had lost the Tony Kart thing, so he was
in limbo for
in
a bit.
limbo, right? So basically they were done. They were tapped out, and they came to me and they said, "We're done. Would you like to buy it?"
This is the
No
e-karting
shit.
guys.
Yeah.
So
So I bought the series and took it over.
and you acquire that. Rob he acquires the other bit, but now you have a regional tour.
I
This
know.
is 2004.
August of July, because our
You
first
had-
race was August.
So god damn, Andy,
You're
you went.
climbing the
You're hauling
ladder
ass.
pretty quickly.
Yeah, it was all in. I'm an all in guy.
Now,
right?
did you do this because passion? I love this. This is badass, or did you go? This is a great business opportunity.
I did it for. This is where all my customers race. If I don't take this over,
Fair enough.
I'm out.
No,
Yeah,
that's,
yeah.
Right.
Then that's business.
Right.
That's support.
Right.
Okay.
It was okay. I gotta keep this thing going, right?
Okay.
And they took the check, and I took over from that.
Again, right place, right time, right scenario.
Yeah.
So you went from again, man, it's a haul ass scenario.
And it was fast, dude. It was less than 2 years from me
Losing a job.
losing a job to owning a series and a shop, and still racing. What's it? What? Yeah.
Wow. So in 2004, you acquired this deal. Is that the first year of Gatorz?
Yeah, because they had signed the original Gatorz deal, and then
Okay.
we kept it going.
So you get, whether you like it or not, essentially, you were roped into a regional deal.
yeah.
And so had you ever done negotiations with other tracks or anything like that? So come on, we're figuring out how to do it.
Yeah.
How long did the, quote, Gatorz Series last?
Probably, I think we ran it 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9. No, that was 9, maybe 10. So maybe
7 years?
Maybe 7 years. And it had gotten to a nice size because Rotax.
And it was still Rotax specific.
Still
Right.
Rotax. Every
Yeah,
once in
yeah.
a while, we had a tag class 1 year.
I might sound a little naive, but what do you mean? I know what tag means, but what do you mean when you offered a tag class?
Because it was all Rotax, and then there were still Leopard guys out there. So,
Okay, gotcha.
So I gave the non-Rotax guys that kind of fit into our group.
All right.
Was Gatorz essentially challenge?
It was
gonna
regional.
ask,
It was a
yeah.
little bit lighter. So
Well, I mean, class structure.
yeah.
the
But
way
it was,
it's ran.
it was mini max, but it was only a 1 day. So it was a 1 day practice, 1 day race.
It was like AC.
Yeah,
But it
but
was
traveled
Yeah. So you've got
or a
got-
pro kart or whatever. Right. That
It was
kind
a
of thing.
regional tour, but it was Rotax specific,
Yes.
and then you threw in a tag
class.
tag senior, I assume.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And it was the southern.
It was a
half.
SoCal thing, and it was always we're only talking about mini max, junior, senior masters, DD2, and then a tag class. So maybe 6 classes at the most, and we were 80 to 90 entries. I mean, our
That's-
masters class had 30. 20 juniors, 20 seniors, 30 masters, and there's 70, 10 minis. Those were
Yeah.
times there was a 30 kart field and 10 guys could win. Like
Man.
it was
Right.
those. To me, those were some of my absolute favorite days, right?
And we're talking about 7 or so years. We're talking 2004, 2010 ish, right in there, right?
Yeah.
Of this regional tour you're putting on. When does Challenge start?
So challenge starts in 8.
Okay, so right there. So let's say they start in 8. You purchased, you acquired this regional tour,
Yeah.
and it was to support the customers you already had.
Yep.
Obviously, that changes from year 1, 2, 3, from supporting to actually this makes some sense.
Right.
So
I didn't figure out how to make money out of it yet. Right. That was the weird part.
Right. Okay. So
Right.
how does Gatorz? At some point, it must hey, this is a pretty good idea. There must be a hole to fill in the winter. So you do that, and you picked it up. But I assume that you're like, hey, I could make some more money if I start a winter series.
It was actually Joe Ramos suggested it. So
Okay. So
he
in
came and
what,
said, "Look,
2000?
at the end, towards the middle of 7, end of 7.
7, Ramos is still in the game then.
Oh yeah.
He's still in the game and still influencing what happens in the Rotax situation.
Oh yeah, no, he was still the importer. He was still doing his deal.
Okay.
And the success of the Winter Tour was exploding, and we didn't have
in Florida.
Yeah, we didn't have anything like that here, right? We just didn't. Now, some of the success of the Winter Tour was because of the South American influence and the Eastern Canadians, right? So there were, where all the people in Canada live, in Quebec and Toronto, and then the South Americans, it's easy for them to get to Miami, right? So in those days, the Winter Tour would have 250. I mean, they just touched 300 entries a couple times.
Holy
right?
crap!
Right, in 5 Rotax classes, right? So
that's nuts.
It was nuts, and so he said, "Well, let's try to capitalize it on West." So then that's when we created the challenge, and that.
And this is on the back of what I assume is some fairly solid Gatorz numbers at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's plaques here up on the wall. It says, the #1 Rotax Series in the country, Gatorz Karting Cup, right?
Gotcha.
I mean, the Winter Tour, the Florida Winter Tour in those years was the biggest Rotax Series in the world. It absolutely was.
And Gatorz is #2?
Gatorz was the best, regional type of program, right? I mean, we always,
okay.
But there was no other series that were like that.
Because same country, right? So
right.
that's why I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
so they're the biggest in the world, and you're the biggest, ongoing regional program.
Yeah.
Wow.
So you already ran your time with Gatorz. You're starting off challenge. What was some stuff that you learned with Gatorz as a promoter you wanted to change and improve on for challenge?
This is some people are going to look at this as a dirty word. I finally figured out how to monetize it properly.
Okay.
It was my business. It was my job. Right. This is how I earn a living. This is how I provide food on the table. When I took over Gatorz, it was just to keep that thing going, to keep the shop going. Right. It was the challenge. When I started the challenge, the focus switched from 90% shop, 10% series to almost 50-50.
Right.
Because it took so much of my time and so much of my energy, it made no sense to work for free for those 3 months just to keep the business in the shop going. I had to figure out a way to monetize that because it was it gotten crossed over to costing me shop business. Because then it was, oh, well, you're the guy that promotes it. I'm not going to go to you. I'm going to go to this guy, or you don't have time for me because you're too busy running the series, right? So you're not my engine guy anymore. I'm not going to buy a go-kart from you because you're too busy talking to race officials and setting up race events, right? So there was a transition period, right?
And there was an overlap between you doing both.
There was,
all three.
08, 09, and partially through 10.
We just kind of segued from you as a driver. You stopped driving predominantly, right? And then we're talking about the promotions of Gatorz and then Challenge, etc. What is going on for you as a driver? Because if memory serves, I remember you saying or have a note that you were in every single Rotax Grand Nationals up to a certain extent. So in 2002, at the ass end of that thing,
so
you run.
Two was so Rotax Grand Nationals went from under the current administration. Right, I'm sorry. Under the previous, either Ramos, SSC or the Max Speed group. Unfortunately now, Rotax has done what's Rotax done, and then
right.
Justin Stefani and those guys are taking it over. But it's not like it was.
Sure.
Right. So it went from 2001 to 2016 was kind of the run it had.
15-year runs.
That's a long time.
And also talking about
a 16-year run because it was
16,
1 to 16.
Yeah. Sorry, and that's also internationally.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
In 1, it was only one class. So Master started in 2. I raced from 2 to 14. So I raced in 13 straight.
And how did you pull that off? How are you showing up at the big show with your punches? Barely doing a challenge race or a Gatorz race or whatever it took to get the punches or get the.
But I would race the day. I never did the cheater punch. I would never just show up. Right. I would race the day. Right.
But it was the whole thing, and it was probably round 6 or 1 or some shit that it's not going to mean anything in the grand spectrum.
Right.
But I can go race the Grand Nationals, and then Mother Effer would be right at the top 5 for the Grand Nationals.
I have a
damn near every time.
I have a fairly good record.
So
I was on the podium. I won once, right?
What you won the Grand Nationals once. What year was that?
04.
Here,
so I was second in 2, right? The win that wasn't a win that
right.
wasn't a win, right?
It was a win.
I won in
until
4.
It wasn't.
I won in 4. I didn't get it back in the podium till 7. and I got third and 7, and then in 12 I got second again. But I was on, of the 13 years, I have 4 podiums. I think I have 4 or 5 poles. I think I've won probably 12 of the heat races. I put, for as much as I put into it, I put my record up against anybody. I got beat plenty of times.
And you're always going to lose more when you win.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I got beat by some great guys. I got we all have our grumbled. I got beat by guys I didn't think I should have got beat by, but I got beat. So that's the way it works, right?
So this is what I really like about being able to do these shows, because I know you more as a promoter than a driver. Matt Johnson, I know more as a coach now than a racer, and all these kind of things. But you as a racer, man, going out to do these events, were you, especially because now we're talking more at the time where you're managing the team, you're trying to go race. And I think about this, thinking back to the Billy Musgrave episode, there was a time, I think he was at the Super Nats, and he's like, I just got too distracted with the customers. Mm-hmm. He's like, I couldn't focus on my own stuff. At one point, for lack of a better way to put it, did you ever go, F these guys, I need to focus on myself? Or were you able to pretty well balance stuff?
And it's a hard balance. It's a really hard balance. Guys that really know me.
And to add to that, are you showing up to these big national events as FTK?
I added my mechanic. I've had a couple over the years, but the guy that's been with me the longest was a guy named Frank Powell, who was a racer. Frank is 18 years older than I am. He raced Rotax. He now races his Porsche around the country when he feels like racing. He's a PhD in respiratory physiology, teaches at the medical school of San Diego.
He looks like a smart person. If Frank shows up, you're like, you know more than I do. And I don't care what the topic is.
Yeah. So Frank was always my mechanic. And I always did the tuning. He always did the wrenching, right? So, and he always would say afterwards if we didn't do well or if we didn't, he finished 6th this year. Okay, and it's like, well, next year, do you think you want a real mechanic or real tuner so you can do better? I'm like, no, I like what we got going on. I'll tune myself. You just make sure shit doesn't fall off.
This works, yeah.
That's how I like to do it. I took my racing as serious as I wanted to take it, right? In the end, it was still my fun hobby. But I didn't want it to consume me, right?
That is it right there. I was waiting for you to say that because you haven't said it all episodes so far. Actually, is the F word, fun.
Oh,
and that's what I've loved hearing so much about the old guys, if you will, is all the shit that they got to do, going through cars, all the karting stuff that you got to do, going from team to team. It's just been fun for all you guys. And that's actually been a nice reminder for myself because I've been, for one reason or another, stressed myself out.
It's hard. It's hard.
Just keep it fun for you because at the end of the day, it's a hobby.
And add to it when you're...
Mike's the same way.
Yeah, well,
keeping it fun.
It's tough when fun gets in the way of food on the table.
Right.
Yeah. There you go.
And I can't really speak to that, to be honest with you. I have a different situation. You have a different situation.
Sure. You're not suffering from food on the table. I can see that from here.
No. Yeah. And same if I could. Yeah.
Well, hey,
I didn't.
Let's talk cross slides here.
Yeah. The reality is that when you're a business owner, and I'm not, so it's not the same. I may, quote, manage a business, but it's not the same. And if you have a situation where you are literally looking at the numbers on the books and it translates into what you actually see in the bank account with bills and what, it's not like it's its own separate thing. No, you just tack it on top of whatever you already have.
Did you think that FDK running a series wasn't going to work?
I worked it through. I mean, there's been a lot of sleepless nights, right? I'm a business owner, right? And Eric knows. I mean, Eric started helping me out in 05, the very end of 05, and has been with me on and off. Now it's 2020, right? So it's been 15 years. There's probably a 3 or 4 year hiatus when I actually worked with you at Cal Speed,
right?
But there's been a lot of sleepless nights. I mean, obviously, you kind of work it through your brain, and I wouldn't say I had significant doubts, but every year you go into the first race of the series, you're a month out and you're like, man, there's 10 entries on the board.
Right.
Man, are we gonna, what happened? Did I do something wrong? Is that team going to come? What's going to go on, right?
Dude, you know what? We'll have the same thing with the arrive and drive stuff where everyone signs up a week before. Yeah. We're like, Jesus, guys, do you know how much stress that costs?
60% of my entries the last 4 days. The last 4 days, right?
We're going to take 30 seconds right now and be like, hey, public service announcement. Can you guys please
Whether
Just
it's a rev and drive,
it doesn't matter.
rock, excuse it, whatever you want to do it ahead of time.
Do us a favor.
Yeah. Help the guy write the race report.
Oh my
help
God.
Help him write the preview.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, if nothing else, if you don't want to be altruistic, just to give us the bank, give me as the guy writing the report.
Right.
Give me something.
My favorite ones are the guys that call and ask who's entered.
Oh, Jesus.
Who aren't entered yet. And some of them do that because they want to know who's entered to decide if there's going to enter. There's some guys that are absolutely going to come, but just want to know. And if they're not entered, I say you're not privy to the information. And they say why? I said because if you're not entered, it doesn't matter to you. You're not coming. But you ask about the balancing and the customer versus. It is a difficult balance.
For sure.
One of my favorite stories, favorite line. You know me. I got a lot of lines, right? A lot of shit talking. In 05. A guy named DJ Ortiz, who I still talk to periodically, was on the Burrell M32 at that point, just like I was. And he came to me in South Bend, and that was the year after I'd won, and then I put it on pole then again in 05 there. And he came to me and he said, "Hey, can I ask you for some help?" And I said, "Sure, what's up?" "Man, I'm struggling, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Well, tell me what your problem is." And he said, "Well, if you don't want to help me, it's cool. We're on the same go-kart." And I said, no, DJ, just tell me what's up. Like, what's the problem? And I told him what axle I was on, and I told him my front end settings, and I told him my gear, and I told him my jet. And he kept saying, "Well, if you don't want to help me," and I was like, "DJ, I'm telling you my whole setup." And finally,
I gave you my life story at this point.
Yeah,
DJ.
exactly. Yeah. And finally, he looks at me and he goes, "Why are you doing this? We're at the Nationals." I said, "Because DJ, I want to help you be the best you can possibly be, and then kick your ass anyway."
Oh, I like that.
And he's like, "Oh, well, you don't have to be mean about it." I'm not being mean. I'm just telling you.
Hey, DJ,
I don't want to.
Exits that way, buddy. I don't know what to tell you.
I know the wolves like to go for the wildebeest that's missing a leg or something, but I want to go after the strong ones, man.
And he's like, "I'm not being mean. I'm being Andy."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, that's part of it too. Like, I mean, at when we were running the CSK tent, like no, I would not tell anybody else exactly what we were doing.
Right.
Because
I have anybody outside the tent.
Exactly,
Yeah,
because
for sure.
I have an obligation to the people underneath the tent.
Yeah.
Andy Seesemann, we're talking about you rolling through all of this crap, and we haven't really gotten into any one little thing like in depth because you've touched the driving side, the shop side, the promoter side. You're one of the few people here in karting that have done all of these things.
Yeah, karting is a weird thing. I mean, in the end, right? I mean, look at all these guys. I mean, even Seth and Ryan Perry and all these guys, they were drivers, right? And nobody believes that Ryan Perry was a good driver. Ryan Perry was a pretty decent driver himself, right? Right? Beechner and Stu, right? So we all have done a lot of the
Both sides of it.
a lot of both sides, but. I don't want to sound cocky, but I'll put my record up against anybody. I've worn way too many freaking hats in this deal for sure.
I mean, that's part of it. You are ingrained in the sport at this point. Like you've done so much to be a part of it.
You can't go use that degree.
Yeah.
No. The one thing it did was teach me how to think analytically.
That's
more
a good
than anything
thing, then,
else,
yeah.
right? It was the science part of my degree. It helps me. So I'm a numbers guy. So
Right.
I analyze stuff. To the
Down to the
nth degree for sure. Look, we're in year 14 now for the challenge.
It's going into 14, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
That's
before
awesome.
we get into all that kind of stuff, I do want to kind of put maybe a point on the driver aspect. You played around with what your current weight is, and you're like, and again, you wear it well, my friend. You absolutely do. But is there the last time you said you were all in racing? I think it was 2014.
2014 is when I quit. I raced the Nationals that year and had a typical Andy National. Screwed up in the pre-final. Got in a wreck
Slow
with
as
somebody.
hairpin.
Got in a wreck with somebody, right? Battling for 6th. Got in a wreck with somebody. DNF'd, right? So start 30th and drive my way up to 10th, right? I mean that has been my story, right? And I think a lot of it comes from me not racing enough that I get impatient. And, I do my 4 punches or whatever, right? And it's like, okay, I need to get it done now. I need to get it done. And it costs me over the years several different times, right? And my kids were getting older. it was, like I said, it was 14. You know, my son was entering 8th grade. My daughter was entering 5th grade. He was really starting to get into basketball. I knew I wanted to spend those years with him.
Are we talking about this stuff is affecting you at the Grand Nationals?
It's just affecting time. It's just affecting money. It's
You're
just
running out of time to go do this thing.
You know, it's affecting life, right? And, you know, you talk about the time you invest. And before I'd go to the I don't know if Eric remembers this. No, Eric wasn't with me, I don't think, in 14. He came for the Nationals, but he wasn't working for me then. I felt so far behind in 14. Like I hadn't done anywhere near enough. I had not done enough. And the Nationals were like in August, I think. And it was probably June or early July, and the Nationals are like 6 weeks away. And I'm like, I am nowhere near where I need to be.
Well, and the other part,
I kind of remember you being out cutting laps.
I
like trying to burn them down.
And I went, I need to do 1,000 laps.
But to add on to that, I mean, the older you get, and the more it's going to take, because there's masters that keep coming in every year, every few years, right?
Yeah.
So it's going to only take more and more work.
You're going against the regulars,
the John Crows and the Scott Falcones and the Tyler Brooks and the, you know, I mean, these guys are in the kart all the time, right?
Was there to add on to that? Was there one guy? You know, you're a masters. You've been in there for a while. Was there one kid that came up and you're like, this is a young kid. This is a kid. Was there one of those guys that you remember? Was it Brooks?
Let me and I'll add to that. So you have that first part, and then you have the other one. Like, no, he's a Masters, but nope, he's got me. So double edge.
Oh man, I never admit that. Give me a break.
Back
there was always
I already got one.
There was always a fast kid. So for years it was Kyle Eggleton, right?
Okay,
right. Kyle Eggleton was always the fast kid, right? We were in our 30s.
Age
190.
weight.
You had to be 190.
Age weight.
Yeah.
I know Brooks was the game. Eggleton was the game.
Brooks was like the 4th one. So
Brooks is the most popular one.
I wouldn't
correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I know Brooks as being the guy who like he almost changed the rule.
But that's just because you live around here. Like none of the rest of them. Kyle did way back in the day.
Okay,
he was from here. Then we had a kid, Alex Rain, who won.
No, he's from my neck of the woods.
Who won in 07,
absolutely,
right?
With Rollison.
Who won at 18 or 19 years old.
Yeah, no, right? Rollison. So Rollison is coaching Alex and Spencer Rain up in my neck of the woods. And I remember my year, 2006, running Tag Senior.
Do you know what series they raced?
Rotax International.
Gatorz. They came down and raced Gatorz all year. That was the beginning of Rollison. RPG came down in 06, not 06, but 07, and raced with the reins at Gatorz. That was the start of RPG.
I totally believe it because I watched him up there, and he is the same guy. And you know what? He could still jump in the seat and get the job done. Yeah. And as a driver coach, that's massive, obviously. Anyway, so you're talking
later
about...
was a kid named Maverick Bartlett, who was from Jackson Hole, Wyoming, pink helmet, but a big, 6'2", 210-pound 17-year-old kid.
He's like, yeah, make fun of my helmet.
Right?
Yeah, gotcha.
Blazing fast, didn't really have the racecraft, but, man, the kid could wheel, right? And then it was Tyler, right? So it was always a young guy, and it's always a challenge because you don't ever want to discourage entries. You don't want to discourage people from racing.
Right.
But you're always going to piss off. The guys up front don't care, right?
Right.
The guys up front are like, I'm gonna just use names from we know, right? I'm gonna kick. And they didn't all race at the same time, but I'm gonna kick Billy's ass and Crow and Bonilla, blah blah. And Tyler, I don't care if he's 18 years old. I'm gonna kick his ass too. I don't care. Right. It's always the guy in 25th going, God damn it! If he shows up, I'm gonna finish 26th.
Yeah. That's
no, you're 100% right.
Like
I've gotten a chance to do just like a guy I was tuning with and whatnot, Connell. He would not run, and I would run the main or whatever in place. And people are like, wait, you get a run? I'm starting last. The only people who would ever say anything, most people are like, hell yeah, come out here and play. Most of the Masters guys would do that. And to be fair, I'm getting more Masters than I used to be.
Yeah,
I'm almost 39, so I'm almost
39. I'm almost 39, whatever that means.
Where I'm going with that is that because I'm almost 39, it's less bad. Because I agree. If you're 32, 35, whatever, like,
what can I say, right? I won my Masters at 34, right?
Yeah, but
I raced my last one at 44, right, and finished second at 42. So I was still in the game, for a while.
And I guess what I'm going with the entire situation is that you go through the whole entire thing as a driver, and you finish up as right there. and we're talking about shit now as we're talking 6+ years. Is there anything of you going, I want to get back in the seat?
Man, it as you know, being in the seat's great. Putting the helmet on, starting the thing up, and going pound laps and going racing is great. The hard part right now is the work that I would have to put in. Talk about 1,000 laps. How about 10 million? Right, 10 million and 50 pounds. Right. So that's the hard part, is looking at that and going, oh, really? And obviously the health benefits are better if I'm 200 instead of 250. Yada yada yada. We all understand that. But yeah, it's the level of work I have to put in. That being said, I did order a new helmet.
Oh, come on, Andy.
So,
come on, baby.
And my wife made fun of me. Oh, really? You're going to get back in the seat? And I said, well, I always have to have helmets. I mean, come on. And my helmet's a Snell 10, so I have to have at least a 20. Man, you have to at least have one. So, I got a helmet coming, whether that means anything or not. We'll see. It's still fun to jump in the seat. I can still, I'm still amazing for about 6 laps. They're not fast, but they're consistent. We were out at Adams, I don't know, 6 months ago with Giles and Quinn and those guys, and they were struggling a little bit. And I jumped in the seat and I did one warm-up lap, and I hadn't been in the seat in a year longer, and did the next 5 laps in a row within 2.5 tenths. Now, for the guy that races every weekend, that's still not good enough.
That's not a big deal.
That's still not good enough. For a guy who's 50 pounds overweight and hasn't been in a seat for a year to do 5 laps in a row in 2.5 tenths, I was like, okay, you could still kind of do this.
When you see Andy Seesemann go straight from the go-kart to the trailer.
It was either.
I take my shit off and put it over there.
Put it right there. You've seen it. I don't even take the helmet off. I take it. I walk right out, go right over to the trailer, close the door of the trailer, pretend to throw up, put the helmet over there.
Because the reality is, dude, is that you are legitimately one of the best Masters drivers the North American freaking group has seen.
I appreciate it. That's a bit much, but
no, it's not. When you look at you just got done talking about it earlier. The pedigree that goes behind you. You're one of the best Masters drivers, freaking period.
I've had some good runs with some good guys for sure.
When we talk about the fact that most of your karting career has been involved in the Masters game, so we're not talking about somebody who was. I started when I was 12, and I worked my way. Right?
But yeah.
Hey,
but
you and I are not dissimilar. Right. I started when I was 12. Got kicked out after a year because I'm stupid at school.
Right.
And by stupid, I mean I don't want to be there.
Right, exactly.
And I didn't get back in the game until 11, 12 years later.
Right.
In indoor karting. So the point is that your ability to get the job done, you just said it, at Adams, boom, baby. You're right there. And you haven't done nothing for a year. So Andy Seesemann at the weight is going to kill you. You are going to be Billy Cleveland.
Oh, I'll race anybody at 450 pounds. Let's go. as long as the race is 4 laps long.
Super duper Masters.
You don't know this, but the last time I raced, I actually did the road race at Speed Vegas 3 weeks ago.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, how'd it go?
Terrible. Actually, terrible. Terrible from a standpoint. So we drove up on Saturday. So Giles and Bonilla wanted to go run.
It looked like a cool course.
Yeah, it was okay
for a road race.
So Giles and Bonilla wanted to run, and they browbeat me into coming. So I threw a Rock GP on my 2008 M32 and dropped it on the track. And
I would have gone 2006. I mean, older is better.
Actually, it's a badass go-kart. The M32, that 08 M32 is my favorite chassis model made, because when I drove regularly. So Lobaugh a couple years ago had one buried as a bare frame, so I brought it as a bare frame and built it.
Don't you dare tell me it was a new 2008.
Brand new. Brand new. Brand new.
I love it.
Build it from parts. I mean, it's been driven probably 10 times total, right? So it's just
9 of them by you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like $100 off sticker price.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, from then.
It has
inflation plus.
It has the 2018 brakes on it, right? It has, so it's awesome.
Luckily, there's been no technological gains.
No, not at all.
Not that I hear of.
I just love it. It's just comfy. It's just comfy.
It's just comfy.
That's the seat.
Except, well, yeah, no, it wasn't. It wasn't comfy. So yeah, so we go out to Speed Vegas. I get in the seat and we go, and now we're, haven't been in a go-kart in how long? I'd been in 6 months. Those 6 laps at Adams, but before that, a year.
You haven't been stealing the last lap at Cal Speed for a while. I'll tell you that.
Here I am
there's a bill at
going
the end of the
90
year.
miles an hour at Speed Vegas, and I'm uncomfortable. I am just uncomfortable in the seat, right? I mean, I'm just uncomfortable.
Absolutely.
And you're in a road race with some guys, and they had some lay downs and other stuff, right? So I got in a 20 kart field. This is a month ago.
Oh, jeez.
And I start 16th, and in 8 laps,
Those other 4 have work to do, I'll tell you that much.
and in 8 laps, I'm in second place.
Oh, shit.
The guy leading is Bonilla. He's a mile and a half up the road.
Right.
The class weight is 415. I come across at 456. With 2 laps to go, I catch a lapper, and I almost die. And I literally pulled in.
You try pulling the outside.
I pulled in.
Never pulling the outside.
And I went, I'm good for the day. I'm good.
On Friday's practice.
No, this was this was the first race on Sunday. They raced 3 heat races, and I said, I'm good. I'm good for the day. And the guys were giving me shit. You're not going out anymore? Nope. I feel tremendously uncomfortable, not dizzy, just out of sorts. I haven't been in a go-kart in how many years?
Keep up with stuff, yeah.
Right? It's just going too fast for me right now. And I'm not embarrassed to admit it. It just is. And I had done as well in 8 laps of racing after being after not racing in 6 years. I had done as good as I was going to get, second behind Paul Bonilla. I'm like, there's nothing I can prove at this race.
Yeah, right.
And to your point about the uncomfortable thing, dude, going last year for prep for Supernats, I had never run an X30. No idea. Never run on the tire. Never run on the go-kart.
Andy was on the wrong chassis when he first drove.
I was on a chassis. So
Yeah. You're at least
wasn't
on
the
a
one I was
go-kart.
going to race on. But I went out there and I'm like, oh, this is a little faster than I thought it was going to
Yeah.
be. Like, this is, like,
Now go 90
It's-
miles an hour in a road race.
No, dude,
Right.
100%.
Right.
The point is, like, when I coach people, it goes comfort, vision, line, speed. If you can't check the comfort box, we've got problems.
Speed is out of the question.
No, because you feel like you're along for the ride. You're not. No,
I was not in control of that go-kart.
and you know what though? Some people, they might be giving you shit for it, but the reality is.
Oh no! Dude, my text group with Bonilla and Giles and Ed, they were all over me. You quitter.
Yeah. Well, okay, hold on. Bonilla, Giles, etc. You guys race how often? Yeah. When was the last time I did? Yeah.
Yeah,
The
there
point
you go.
is that if you have the
And
wherewithal,
in 8 laps, I was better than Giles already. By the way, you hear that, Mike? You hear that, Mike Giles?
nice. Though, if you have the wherewithal as a veteran to go, guys, it's a better idea if I sit this one out.
Yeah, it's good.
That's something else.
The best driving I did was I drove the truck and trailer up. I drove the truck and trailer back.
because
You know
of the
what?
support, baby.
Great gas mileage on it, too. There you go.
Amazing.
You're able to lift at the right times. So you had your first race back after about a 6-year hiatus. What was the career looking like after that 6-year
Yeah, I like
hiatus? Jump back into Rock GP.
Ooh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, and better yet,
Actually, I take that back. I think it was a 4-year hiatus because do you remember I jumped in that KPV
You
race?
did.
I jumped
Oh,
in
that
that
doesn't-
KPV race.
And you killed it.
I won
yeah, you did.
Yeah.
because Chad Hawkins was 1 pound underweight.
It doesn't matter.
And I was 48 pounds overweight.
Hey,
I
you know
was-
what? Don't play it close.
That's right.
How many times have we said in the arrive and drive game? Like all these arrive and drive kids, they're like trying to cut it's 200 pounds, right? And we give a 1 pound allowance,
Yeah.
so you can be 199.
Some
And
of
they're
them are like 20 pounds
If I'm
light.
not 199, then I'm not playing the game.
That annoys Bob to so because you have some of those weights. You have a point something on your weights, and Bob gets so annoyed.
Marbles.
He gets so annoyed. He's like, "You have a 9.6 on this. What the 0.6?"
You miss it by 0.4. I'm sorry. Anyways, so yeah, you're running this.
You decide, well, better yet, you set the right precedent and you pull in because, like, guys, I can't do it. And your team's talking some shit.
Oh, yeah.
Or actually your group
You
text.
crossed the line second. You crossed the line second.
No, because with 2 laps ago, I pulled in
Oh,
because I almost died on that
you
one
were in.
corner. I'm like,
'Cause
yeah,
you-
okay,
well-
that was enough death.
Because
Well-
you decided incorrectly about how to get around
No,
the
no.
lap traffic.
Probably,
The
yeah.
corner was correct. The lapper was not. So there's a difference.
It's all good. I didn't
So-
have to prove. I'm like, oh, I could, half of this stuff is for yourself, right? As you know,
Exactly,
you're like,
yeah.
right. It's okay. The competition is great, right? So,
But you had fun.
I had a great time. You know how you have your, comfort, blah 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 blah, right? So I have my. So when I used to coach a lot,
It's
I
only
had
4 things.
I have
It's
my-
not
I have-
that many blogs.
I had 5, right? I had 5.
I got to hear this.
I said, unfortunately, everybody who gets into racing always goes right to 5, but you got to master 4 first. And people are like, what are you talking about? I said, dude, first you have to race yourself. Then you have to race the kart. Then you have to race the track. Then you have to race the clock. Then you race the other guy. But all you guys care about is the other guy. I said, you got 4 other steps to get through first.
I like that.
I mean, to me, that's how I try to teach, right?
I've gone up to step 4 and just ignored
just
step
ignore
5.
it.
Yeah, I'm like, if he's there, he's there.
You nailed it. I talk to people like for you, comfort, vision, line, speed.
Right.
But I go, once people get done with comfort, they skip right to speed.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
oh, I got to go fast.
Right.
Well, you
just
missed the
easy.
2 important shit.
Yeah.
Take it
It's just
easy,
like, guys,
Chachi.
I'm racing against that guy. Yeah, but you screwed up your lines. You're asking the go-kart to do something it can't possibly do, and you're not even racing the same track. Like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Hold on a
At
second.
Cal
You
Speed,
actually-
you took the wrong direction, actually.
and by the way, the guy you were racing so hard for, he's not even in your class.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
jeez.
Masters. You're in Super Masters.
Ask Robbie Stanovich about that one. He didn't talk to me for like 3 years after I got into him once.
Oh, no shit?
Stanovich?
Yeah. Don't you remember?
You were on track with Stanovich?
PRD.
PRD Masters and
I
Senior
raced
together?
PRD, and he was in the
Pilot.
pilot class.
Oh, pilot. Yeah.
That's your game.
And I was running second. Just we're like first was gone in both classes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Stanovich pushed Ralph Bush up to me, pushed him by me,
Who
and
was
then,
not in pilot, by the way.
and then got in the middle of us with like 1 lap to go. So I catch Robbie. We're running Classico clockwise.
Well, you had to get your ticket to the World Championship.
Yeah. So I
PRD
catch
World-
Robbie. I catch Robbie coming out of Catino right before we end the little Classico section. I give him a little dink and move him, right?
9 class, it's
Get
legal.
get by him, and then almost get to Ralph at the line. Like Ralph beats me like 4 inches.
Right.
We get to the scales, and Robbie is screaming at me, right? Yeah, I dare you, blah, blah, blah. And I said, when you calm down, come talk to me, and I explain to you what and why that just happened. He's like, blah, 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 blah. And he's screaming. I'm like, dude, just calm down. I'll tell you why that happened. And Wareheim was working for him then.
No.
Was it Wareheim? No, it was...
No, it was...
Beechner.
No. It was Zine. I'm sorry. It was Zine. It was Zine. It was
You're
Zine.
right.
It was
Zine.
either
Zine.
Zine or it was...
It was Zine.
Who's the other...
No.
Who was super skinny guy?
It didn't matter. It was Zine. I'm telling you. it was
Wareheim.
Zine. And
It's Zine
Zine,
and
and
Wes over
Zine
there.
came up to me and he's like,
Either one.
hey, Andy, what happened there? And I go, Robbie pushed my competition up to me, pushed him by me, and then got in between us. So where nobody could see very well, I moved him out of the way and tried to catch Ralph. I said I didn't crash him. I didn't smash him. I didn't wreck him. I said there's not even a dent on his bumper. I softly moved him.
You know what I would do
And
if I
Zine
was
goes,
Zine?
I told you that's what happened.
You know what I'd do if it was Zine? I'd shake your hand and say, you were 100% in the right.
Oh,
And
he
I would-
was. No, he did. He was on my side. He told Robbie's dad, and dad was like, okay, I don't really understand it, but I'll go along with it. And Robbie probably didn't speak to me for 3 years after that. I mean, he was...
All right, so we're going to jump ahead to some more current news.
times.
Oh, is this about you racing challenge next year?
No.
We're actually just trying to get a free entry. That's all it is.
Yeah, okay. Mike knows.
We
Publicity.
expect that.
That
We
ain't-
expect
that
that.
ain't
It's not
happening.
going to happen.
Yeah, we know this.
Yeah, we expect it. Yeah, we're going to put full caster podcast on everything. Anyways.
In all seriousness, I did run my first challenge event as well as Mike did this past year, and I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Good, I appreciate that.
So
Thank you.
it was cool. I mean, I think we talked about it. I don't know if it was on camera, if you will, or just bullshitting in the office with you a few weeks ago or a week ago. But I told Mike it was a club feel in the paddock, but still the national intensity, if you will, on the track.
On the track, it's supposed to be. I mean,
And-
that's absolutely what it's supposed to be.
And I
No,
think you nailed it. It was cool because Taylor Jocelyn, who's a buddy of ours, he works at our events, but race director over years, he walked over and he didn't only chat with us, but he chatted with all the first timers at Challenge and made sure they're all on the same page.
No, and I think that's the point, is that it actually, even if you're FNG,
Yeah.
if you're brand new to the game, you could jump into challenge and actually feel a little bit more welcome. I
Yeah.
thought that was really good. Like, I was looking at the whole, tech sheet, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, declarations? What in the hell is this? Turns out it's pretty straightforward. And the tech staff was phenomenal. Like you show up like, I'm new, I'm an idiot, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and they help you through the whole thing.
Right. So I got 2 questions. The first one I'll ask you is, and I asked this to Billy Cleveland. The Masters guys were big in the 100cc. That was the thing to run, right, for a good 20 years, if you will. Do you think it's pretty funny how this just come full circle, coming back to that, the air-cooled stuff?
No, I don't think it's funny at all. I think it's typical. I think karting is very, very basic at its roots, right? No matter how technologically advanced or complicated we want it to be,
It's trying to gone too far to the nth degree.
It is best in its simplicity, right?
Yeah.
There is no better race to watch. If you YouTube 100cc air-cooled world championship race from the mid-90s.
You got Ayrton Senna, Prost
it is
going at it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is unbelievable to watch those races. The go-karts were 308 pounds. That was the class weight, 308.
Man.
308.
Well, I got to say, people
by the way,
a lot shorter and smaller in the mid-90s.
Junior now is 320, right? And these were adults, right?
Man.
The karts obviously have gotten heavier over the years, right? With
For
the
sure.
body work and the water cooling and the
number of
starters
things.
and the electronics, right? But the weights were not. I'm talking about the people that complain that senior weights are too high, right? Because they have 30 pounds.
It's the 14-year-old kid moving up.
Yes,
That's what
right.
it is.
It's not because senior used to be. It was a bunch of 18 to 25-year-old guys. Well, okay, you weighed 170 pounds.
Yeah.
You didn't weigh 132 pounds.
Well, I got to say, at 180, I'm the oldest and probably the heaviest guy in senior right now.
Right, yeah. When Matt used to race Johnson,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, oh, God, they're so old, they're so heavy, they weigh 180. Well, that's about – senior was always built around 170-pound guy, roughly.
Talk to me in 5 years, kid.
Yeah, well, on the flip side, you get Matt Johnson, at his heaviest.
Right.
Yeah.
Buck 85 or whatever. Like, I haven't been a buck 85 since I was 17.
Right.
Like, if I tried. At the end of the day, you have Andy as a shop predominantly, right? What is the backbone, if you will, of FTK right now, and what can you rely on? What are you resting on? What makes FTK what FTK is right now?
A couple things. One is I'll take a little credit and say because we treat everybody fair, right? It's never been any different here, right? Whether you like my personality or don't like my personality, it is what it is. But I treat everybody the same. Everybody's treated fairly, right? There's no favorites. Even the guys that I'm a sponsor a go-kart to, they still get DQ'd at my races if they're cheating, right? But yeah, I mean, there's things they know you can rely on, right? You got me, and for years and years, we've had Eric Thompson's. Eric's my guy, and he's always been here. He's the backbone, right? He's the nice one. Trust me, we all know he's the nice one of the group. Everybody knows what they get. We're not perfect by any means, but they know what they get. They know they're going to get treated fairly. They know if they need help, we're going to bend over backwards for you. We're going to get you back on the track. Whether it's me or whether it's Eric or whatever, that's always how it's going to be. And I'm confident in what we've accomplished, and I'm confident in our legacy in the sport. Not that I worry about legacies. I don't think there's any big karting book in the sky that people are writing paragraphs for the angels. But we've put in what we've put in, and I think we have our reputation speaks for itself.
So to add on to that, and I got to add this. I think it was back in 16. I think I did the FTK Lounge with you guys in the 206. Had the old rental rocket and the old I think it was the old Burrell. But
Andy had no idea he actually had a decent piece of equipment or anything.
no shit until he had a decent driver, and I do mean decent.
Heavy on the D.
No, but I get the old rental rocket on pole by almost 2/10. I'll say
M32. People said you can't drive. You can't drive a 32 millimeter go kart in LO206. You can't drive a 50
go ask
mil.
Derek Esquibel. He'll put it on pole.
You can't drive a kart with a 50 mil axle in
And
LO206.
actually, Andy was like, "I know. We don't expect anybody worth a shit to actually try." Oh, wait a second.
He's like, Derek signed up. He's scratching his head. Anyways, so hold the outside and old Matty J up going through the hill in Scandi. He decides to run me a little wide. I bend an axle in Scandi. Bend the axle. You guys are fixing it, but I see the team owner, Andy, who really he does have the people to do the shit for him. It was Josh Huff, Eric Thompson's there, and I think one other guy maybe.
Taylor Johnson was in the game, I think.
Taylor Johnson was running the FTK lounge for sure.
Right.
He was handling the other two customers, but as far as the actual change, I see Huff, Thompson, and Andy over there. And Andy's getting the shit out, and that was the quickest axle change I've ever seen done. Whether the guy's, running the series or whatever, he was hustling and he got the shit done. And I thought that was so cool to see him out there, like hitting the axle, getting it back in place, and I thought that was so neat.
Well, you didn't think it was cool when I handed you the bill for that axle? I remember that.
No,
I actually do remember that part. By the way, Derek, you have to pay
lounge.
for this.
No, I definitely.
What happened to the lounge?
Yeah, and that was the fun part.
I do remember you got a bill for that axle.
I remember. You go, hey, Andy, I see you like a week or two later at the track. You still got the number for that credit card they gave you? He's like, oh, I got it. I'm like, yeah, just run the axle whenever you need to. He's like, oh, I will. Then I see
at the end of the day, if you're going to be on top of the FTK team, whether it be 206, 100cc, GP, National Championship Club, you guys are going all in.
Oh, yeah.
Even though you're laid back, you're having a good time, and you guys have a good time, you're not slacking on the get shit done.
No. Parental discretion is advised, but the shit gets done.
Yeah, and to be fair,
maybe there's an 18 and over rule, but they'll get the service.
Yeah,
and they'll have a good time.
And add to that, if there's a Masters driver lined up and it says FTK next to the name, I'm going to expect them to have their shit dialed in.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
If there is somebody in again as a Masters driver, shit.
Well,
all right, pay attention because
easy,
you got
a
lot of information.
No. I ain't going there. Let's see. I'm 26.
Yeah, 4 years to go.
Almost 27. When does Master start for challenge?
32.
Is it 32? All right. When I'm 32, maybe I'll come give you a call, Andy.
6 years.
Dude, you're gonna have that business back. Look at that.
Don't you?
All right. Well, hey, let's circle all back. I mean, at the end of the day, we've got somebody who started as a 7-year-old, and by started I mean didn't start. Like
great popsicles, Betty.
Terrible idea. I hate this. This is horrible. Wait a second. 12 years old. Actually, I like this a little bit. And by I like this, I mean I won on accident because everybody else wasn't here, and I was the least terrible.
Yes.
Out of the group.
Yes.
However,
that's how I won most of my races, actually.
You would be as a humble human being. At 12 cents on, my mate, it's been rolling. As a Masters driver through the years, you got back into the game in your mid to late 20s. Turned out to be a pretty freaking badass Masters driver, one of the best in the game, all the way through the Rotax deal. Kill the Rotax for a second. Plug you into anything else. You're still going to be one of the guys to beat. Now, it just so happens that you locked onto the Rotax deal. That's how you not only built your reputation as a driver, but also your ability as a shop owner, a promoter. Karting and Andy Seesemann are 1-1. What is the Andy Seesemann FTK game moving forward?
Adapt. Nice. I think if I can be a little cocky, my best strength is being able to adapt my business to what's needed at that time, right? I've had to adapt 3 or 4 different times, as we've talked about, right?
For sure.
Right. So everything has a life cycle, right? I know that rock's going to have a life cycle. I know there's going to be something else, right? So I just have to make sure that I'm positioned in the right spot when that happens to be able to take advantage. And luckily for me, or, maybe better planning on my part, I'm capitalized that I can take advantage when that stuff happens, right? Unfortunately, in our business, a lot of people don't have the capital to be able to take advantage. When things change, they don't have the capital to make that change. So I don't know what the next thing is going to be. There's going to be a next thing. We all know there's going to be a next thing. We've watched it just in your short time and your slightly longer time. You've watched it happen once or twice. You've watched it happen 3 or 4 times, and I've watched it happen more than that. So I'm blessed that I've had enough, schooling, training, experience to be able to know that when it's time to adapt, it's time to adapt, and you got to go. It's no different than making a pass. It's no different than catching a guy and making the pass now. You can follow him for 16 laps if you want and wait for that wonderful opportunity, or you can say it's time to make the pass now. And,
Right.
and if anybody I'll tie this into how I drove when I raced, right? I make my business decisions the same way that I caught people on the track. Is when it was time to make a decision to adapt, I adapted, and it was like right now. I mean, I literally got the call from Richard Beauclair in 17 that he gave up the Rotax thing, and within 10 days I had signed a deal with Rock. You know what I mean? Eric knows, who's sitting right here. Eric's watched me more than anybody. Eric knows, and I had a reputation as a driver for being probably one of, if not one of the best passers in the field at any time. When I caught a guy, it was time to pass a guy right now. And it's just how I live. It's just how I operate. So I don't know what the future's going to really hold. All I know is there will be something different. I will adapt. I will make the pass, and we're going to go on to the next thing.
Andy Seesemann, this has been a freaking blast.
Dude, like I said earlier, I've known you as a promoter, but I really wanted to hear about the driving, and this has been a ton of fun, man.
Yeah.
It's been a really good time.
Oh, man.
Believe it or not.
I thought you were bored the whole time, really.
No, I know I'm full of shit sometimes, but this has been awesome.
Hey, I before we
Did you
before
ever
we
pay
put
for
it,
that axle?
Oh, man. I'm sure I have the receipt somewhere.
hey, before we put a cap on this thing, are we going to see Andy Seesemann back in the seat?
You should have been in Vegas like a month ago. I was back
No,
in
no,
the
no.
seat.
I mean
get
actually
outta here.
back in the seat, not the. I'm just kidding, and I'm out.
Yeah.
How old
Right?
are you, Andy?
I just turned 50.
Barely. Oh my god.
Man, you're a young buck still, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's so funny, right? So guys,
Andy Seesemann,
guys-
come on.
guys are so funny. I remember a year or two ago, people were like, "Well, you need to have like a Super Masters." I'm like, "Why?" Well, because some of the older Masters guys, I said, the guys winning the Masters races are Billy Cleveland, who's 61, and Paul Bonilla, who's 51.
There it is.
There's
Mike
no,
Smith's not even 40. He can barely keep up with
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
He's squinting to see him.
yeah. If there's anything I
Give me the crying towel.
Yeah, there you go.
I
like
said,
it.
I don't need to create a Super Masters. I need to create a not Super Masters for the rest of you.
Literally, not Supermasters.
I'm telling
you.
you. Oh, hold on. Why do we have a special fun race?
There's no special fun.
No, here it is. A special
I know
fun
what it
race.
is.
We weigh up to Andy Seesemann. Let's do it.
Oh, wait, hold
Andy,
on.
Let's do it. You
Sam,
got to be masters already.
sit
So
tight.
we're-
Sit tight for a second.
We're at a Gatorz race once.
I think this is
it
it.
was at Cal Speed, and I came across the scales at 423. I was especially heavy that weekend, right?
Especially heavy.
Came across at 423, and I told the scale person, "Hey, put a sign up on the scales.
Because you're running Gatorz.
New Masters rate 423."
You're running the show.
People were like, "What?" I'm like, "Just put it up there." So they just wrote it in Sharpie.
And it's just BS.
Right? Yeah, just be right, whatever. It was, class weight was 405, right?
No, it
So-
wasn't. It was 420.
Yeah.
15 pounds.
No, wait.
So, all right, new Masters class weight 423. So we go to qualify or whatever. I qualify, 6 or whatever. People come across, they're like, the Masters guys push across the scales. They look over, they're like, scale person's pointing at the same. Wait, what? 423. This is Andy. What the good? He's like, well, Andy said to change the weights 423. I'm kidding, you jackasses.
We should do it, though.
So I
We should do
remember at the last, and this is what I love about FTK, at the last challenge, at the only challenge race you and I did, Howden's there, you were there, Benia's there, Ed Quinn's there, all of us are, and Smitty, all of us are hanging out in the FTK trailer, having a few drinks at the end. And the coolest part was everyone's in their separate groups having their talks, but you're talking about some of the moments you effed around with people, having changed the weights on the classes or whatever.
Yeah.
But you also talked about the time that you bolted a piece of styrofoam weight onto the back of your seat.
Yeah.
I just remember that
So
shit.
if you see a piece of anything bolted on the back of the seat, you're going to assume it's weight.
Yeah.
So
of course.
Andy, what was it that you did to this?
Oh, that was
these people?
the 07 Nationals. We took a piece of styrofoam and wrapped it in the white duct tape. So it was
It's legal.
It's
That's legal.
It's
Oh
legal.
man, double bolts.
No. I bolted it up on the top right hand of the seat
Hey,
where everybody
you
looks.
only need double bolts if it's
If it's
over
over
7
7
pounds.
pounds.
Oh,
right.
smart.
So it's
This
about
guy
it,
knows the
you
rule
know.
book.
It looked like a 5-pounder, right? Wrapped up. I put it in, bolted it, double knotted it. It was all perfect. We push into Park for May to go qualify, and somebody looks and they're like, "You have weight in your go kart? You don't need
And
weight."
are you smaller guy, bigger guy?
Smaller. I probably came. So class weight was
Wait, are
probably.
you asking Andy?
Well, no.
Seeseman?
I was probably 415 plus. So
Okay.
So yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, man. I just went over and weighed in the scales. I said that the scales are going crazy, so I just bolted a piece on just to be safe. Like 5 people ran out of the line, rolled over the scales. I'm like, yeah, you guys are screwed. You're not going to qualify in the top 10.
I love this because Andy can really sell it if he wants to. Like, I'm not even racing. He just sold me. I need to go bolt 5 pounds on right now.
Andy, it could go either way.
Did I go to qualify? I forget to put the transponder in the back of the seat.
Oh, no shit.
I had
it
the
was
fake,
right where the weight
I
was
had the fake piece of weight, no transponder. So they black flag me. My guy goes, Frank Powell, 79 years old, goes sprinting down the track. Well, it's 2007, so
I love Frank Powell.
70, maybe.
Oh,
No, he was
Frank Powell's
he
the
was
best.
55, which makes me feel horrible because he felt like he was so old back then.
He's the best.
So he goes sprinting down, gets the
transponder.
transponder, throws it. I throw it in my pocket, and I qualify, and I qualified like 8th, right? With the lap I did earlier, I would have been like 3rd, right? I eventually finished 3rd for the weekend anyway, so it had zero bearing on anything that happened. But it's just hilarious that I pulled this great prank off, and then I screw myself by not putting the freaking transponder on the seat.
Karma's a bitch.
It really is a bitch. Racing karma is such a bitch. Such a bitch.
So
Oh
I know
my
there's a
God.
second part. Oh, well, in your case, the third part of the story, you take the weight off and you toss it to someone.
Oh yeah, no. You get it when you get it off,
Weight,
and you hold it in your
quotation
hand,
marks.
right? It's a piece of styrofoam, and you toss it like you're tossing a real heavy thing. You're like, here, hey, well, how much do you think this weighs? And you watch a guy like scramble as he's trying to catch that weight. I've watched guys drop their cordless drills out of their hand.
Man.
So by the way, if I ever toss you something at the track, don't catch it.
Yeah.
Just let it drop.
There it is, folks.
This has been an absolute
This has been awesome.
phenomenal episode. Andy Seesemann.
It's like we're at like 5 hours and 32 minutes at this point.
Well, I
I think
appreciate
you're
you
pretty damn accurate. That
paying attention.
that degree came in handy.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, seriously, we appreciate you taking the time. We appreciate
Yeah.
you opening up the house here and letting us check out that. We didn't talk about it much. We really did not talk about it much. You know what? Let's end on that. Let's end on talking about FTK and being here at the shop. You've been here for, what I think you told me earlier, 11
and a half
years.
11 and a half years. This shop, right? The other shop was 6.
You
and
said,
then this
yeah,
one, 11 and a
exactly.
half.
You started out of the garage. You went to a different shop that was about a mile down the road for about 6 years. Now this place for 11. Full Throttle Karting. I'm looking at chassis up on the side, Challenge of the Americas, and honestly, looking at the pictures of not just yourself, but different people who've run for FTK in some way, shape, or form, and just the amount of drivers that you've touched in some way, shape, or form, people who've been a part of the FTK game. When you look back on and you talked about it, right? We're talking about 2002, end of 2002. We're going into 2021. We are closing in on 20 years of FTK.
Yeah, I know, right?
What does, not the promotions, not the driver, the shop, and the people you've touched along the way, what does almost 20 years of karting mean to you?
It's my life. I mean, this place is my man cave. This place is my sanctuary. I mean, I come here. My wife knows I come here on the weekends, right? And I'll just sit here and hang out, answer the 3 phone calls on a Saturday, right? This is my spot.
It's Ed Quinn calling you just to talk.
No. It's some guy looking for a throttle cable for a Menko fun cart,
Right.
but which we don't carry anyway. But I mean, this has been my life, man, and it's obviously my life's not over. I got a few good years to live yet, but it's been magical. It's I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, I'm blessed. I could never live in a cubicle, work in a cubicle. I certainly, you guys both know me. I could never really have a boss.
It's hard when Mike tells you to move your pit spot over a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right. I mean, he's just trying to do that now, right? So, for sure, I mean, this is my space on earth, and I'm just happy that I was lucky to find it. Right, so many people work their whole lives to find where their space on Earth should be, and I found it at 30 roughly, and I'll have the next 20 of my working life to create to that legacy. And like I said, I'm not worried about legacies. I live day to day, and there's so many great memories and so many great stories. I mean, we've talked for 5 hours and so many stories, and I got a million more to tell.
Right.
But it's just been great, and I wouldn't give it up for anything in the world.
No, Andy, I definitely appreciate the time, and I mean, I've enjoyed hearing all this, dude. I mean, between honestly a good part of the Johnson family and talking to Rob and Mike about when just some of your different series at the track, you're racing, and actually seeing you drive a few times. It's been really cool. Again, I've seen you mostly as a promoter, but hearing you as a racer has been really a treat. And, Eric Thompson's been here the whole time, as well as Ed Quinn. But between the four of us here still, just the passion for the sport of karting in this small square foot of space has been really cool. And hearing it come through your voice has been awesome, man. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. It's I'm an egomaniac, so I like the attention, so it's okay. But it's still fun. It's still fun to sit around. I mean, we talked about, I go back to what I said to Mike when he sent me his little questionnaire sheet. And I said, some of my most favorite times are those Gatorz days when it was, some of those 30 Masters guys and families and hanging out at the campfire at Grande at 2 a.m. and just BSing and, just having a good time. And that's just life. It's just life.
And that's been, honestly, my favorite part of karting. I mean, I've had tons of great races on track with some of my best friends, but, man, the bench racing afterwards and just chatting about everything, that's been some of the coolest stuff, man. And between all the episodes, everyone's set out having great friendships and memories they made off the track. Mm-hmm. Man, I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Mike Mountain the other day, and he asked me about my favorite races, and he's like, what are your 4 or 5 favorite races? And I thought back to my 4 favorite races in my life, and only one of them I won.
Wow. Yeah, there you go.
Because the rest is just about the experience.
Great races and great times at the track, yeah.
It's funny how as you get older, the less direct impact on the results that you have and more indirect impact that you have, the more things mean to you.
Yeah.
You have your own personal, man, that was cool for me.
Yep.
But the older you get and you start looking at like, no, I wasn't in the seat. No, I didn't turn the wrench. But I was there when he was 8.
Mm-hmm.
Or I was there when he was 12. Or I was there when he needed me most and he won, or he had fun.
Right.
And he came off the track and he was smiling.
Yeah, with a smile and high five.
Those are the moments. Those are the things that I take away. Shit, you can't fill a trash can.
Yeah.
And for you to have the opportunity to have a track that you are able to go to on a regular basis, have a shop here that you're able to bring in new people, have a karting series, multiple karting series that you can bring in new people, old people, return people, so on and so forth. And we're not even talking just drivers, officials, people behind the scenes, people who also make their living, so on and so forth, or extras. The amount of impact that Andy Seesemann, just Andy Seesemann, has on the karting community. You got to go to sleep at night with a big-ass smile on your face, my friend.
It's had a bigger impact on me than I've had on it.
It's huge. It's huge. And I tell you, once again, thank you so much for taking the time, letting us hang out here in the FTK man cave, if you will.
Yeah, showroom.
and hanging out with us, Derek and I getting a chance to do a little on-location deal here for the start of Season 2. We thank you so much for being a part of this
really
thing.
Appreciate it.
It's been a great addition, and we'll see you on the track.
You bet. See you guys. Thank you.